Welcome to Destiny Massive Breakdowns, episode 300. I'm Lego LaFlash.
Oh man, episode 300. Okay.
I know.
All right. You know, that took me by surprise a little bit. I thought about it last week, and I might have mentioned it last week a little bit, but that took me by surprise a little bit. Episode 300. Hell yeah. I am Ill Physics, and we're here with another deep dive into Destiny 2. Woo!
Yes, 300. And this week, we're going over what you want to look for on the updated Trials weapons, the new comp sniper, and the reprise loaded question fusion rifle from the Vanguard. So we're hitting all the hot spots this week, and not just with weapons, but I think Tony's going to hit a few hot spots in a second as well.
Yeah, he's priming you. I got some thoughts. But yo, tell me what's on your mind. You know, what's been going on this week?
Oh man, dude, I have been, so half of me's been chilling in the Vanguard playlist, going for positive outlook. Okay. As I mentioned pre-show, I just I need a Cascade Point positive outlook because I did actually get the Connor auto rifle though finally with
Nice.
Cascade Point. So I got multiple actually, so I'm able to try out the energy slot Cascade Point stuff now. So I'm very pumped about that. But then the other half of me has been playing Trials and using the Glaive that we're going to talk about today and getting hated on a lot because no one wants to try something new, and it's getting under my skin a little bit. I just don't understand what the deal. Okay, so here it is.
Okay. I thought I had hot spots, but no. I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I got one hot spot here. This is like just a general like guys, people. Don't hate. Like, try something new sometimes. That's all. And that sounds like I'm promoting something that's like really broken. Like, just give fusion rifles a chance or something like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not doing the whole use whatever, don't apologize thing. I'm doing the use the underused stuff. Like, try it out. Sometimes there's stuff that flies under the radar and you just don't know till you try it. I got so much hate on talking good about this Glaive that we're going to talk about when statistically it is very good, but nobody wants to listen to anything about it. They just want to dump on it. And so I'm a little frustrated by that this week, but it's whatever. People, it's one of the least used weapon types in the game. I should have known that was coming.
Yeah, I think I read something on Twitter where you were just like, did you say something like, I don't know if I should have made a video about Glaives. Nobody cares.
Yeah, well, Cool Guy tweeted, I'm not going to cover the new Glaive. I'm just going to Glaved out. And I am not Glaved out, but I recognize that every video I've ever done on Glaives doesn't go over well. And yeah, I just should have known that this wasn't going to go over well either. I expected people to be like, it's a Glaive, whatever. I didn't expect Aztecross to come out with a video that same morning that completely dumped on the Glaive. And then everybody come to my channel and be like, Aztecross already said this sucks. What are you talking about? And I was like, look at the stats, people. So yeah, I got a little on it yesterday. But it's been a fun week, though. I got to learn some new stuff, and I'm still learning new things about the Glaive. I was talking to Tony pre-show about oh man, I should use, I knew the new Hunter Exotic armor was about Glaives, but I didn't realize exactly what it did. There's a part of it that you have to be surrounded for the perk to proc, but that's just for the melee part, and actually the projectile part I believe works all the time, and so you shoot that, and anytime you get a kill and you're running an arc subclass with an arc Glaive, it will do an explosion. And there's so many already arc explosions going on this season. With the artifact, there's an explosion. With fragments, there's a blinding explosion. This Glaive gets volt shot, so you could quadruple explosion, potentially. I haven't tried that one out yet, but a lot of stuff there. All that to say, I'm looking forward to talking about the Glaive in a bit here. And if you're new here, heads up that we do kind of talk about our weeks first, and then we kind of go into the weapons after that. It's usually about half and half. So if you're looking just for the weapon breakdown, that's going to be in the second half. But I almost guarantee you will enjoy our conversation now as well.
Definitely. Oh, and you forget about Spark of Instinct as well. Fragment on arc.
Is that the blinding explosion? Is that the one?
That's the one where if you take a certain amount of damage and get to a certain hit point, that you have this bubble, basically this area effect around you jolts. It might do a little damage, but more importantly, it jolts enemies within that radius. Okay. Yeah. And since we're talking about glaives and we're talking about a weapon that is a a melee weapon, yeah, it's likely that you're going to take damage in close quarters, and that your opponent is going to be within the radius of that jolt effect. So. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there, synergy-wise, outside of the weapon itself. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about that in a second. And then outside of that, it's just the new Trials stuff. We got new spawns on Burnout, and that was jarring. I'm telling y'all. I would just for several games in a row, I was like, what is going on? What? Like, I already wasn't looking forward to... the new game type being domination the whole time, with the points where you have to go to, especially playing solo where everybody just runs with their head cut off to the point and you're like, no, come fight with me, or everybody just runs to fight and doesn't think about the point at all. It's either one or the other, and I'm like, let's just play the game, y'all. And so this kind of the new spawns just amplified that, and everybody spawns outside. For those who don't know, on Burnout, they just spawn outside, and everybody just runs to that jump up right in the middle, just with shotguns. That was the main thing I experienced. I heard some people experience more of the pulse rifle meta, people staying back, but for me, it was like aggressive shotgunning. Everybody just runs to the middle and dies right away. So that threw my middle game out the window, and I was just like, I just want to play the game a little bit more. Like, it's nice that the rounds are going fast, but we're just not even thinking. We're just running in and shooting.
So it played a little bit more one-dimensionally for you, especially on the solo queue.
Yes, which I expected with that game type. Yeah. But the spawns just amplified that, and so. Because every time, if you're, with your team, you can decide, I'm going to play inside and just move that way, but it spawns you facing outside, like towards that jump up. So your inclination is to go outside, not to go inside.
And to get high ground on top of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there's a whole other side of the map you can play on, and a lot of times the zone is inside. It's not, it's a 1/3 chance it's on the outside. So I don't know, that part of it I didn't enjoy, especially I played mostly solo, and every time that your whole team goes outside and you're the only person who goes inside, if they run into the center and die immediately, then you're just in a 1v3 fight and they've got outside ready to take you on. And so I don't know, I don't want to say I didn't like it, because there were aspects that I did like about it, but it was just jarring, I think is the best word I could use. I definitely had to adapt a lot.
Yeah, and I appreciate your perspective, because I didn't play it at all this weekend. The Glaive definitely flew a little bit under the radar for me, and to be honest, I just haven't been enjoying pubs that much, but I've been really enjoying our community scrims. Nice. And so, but also I told you this too, I've been really enjoying Minecraft.
Yep.
I think that game came out in like 2013 or something like that. I'm so late to it, but man, I'm addicted to that game. I love that game.
Man.
And so, I really value your perspective on that. But, hearing your perspective, and also looking at a few friends through their streams and seeing their perspective, it just made me think back to me and Drewski's conversation about Trials, the new matchmaking changes, and the game mode change to Dominion, that Bungie's trying to get that data, right? So we're getting changes that may end up being kind of... I guess like what's the phrase that he used? Kind of growing pains. Thank you. Ooh,
yeah. It does feel a little dynamic right now. Like they could easily move the spawns, or even just like spawn you in facing a different direction, and the game would play entirely different. Like if they just, when you spawn in, you face inside instead of towards the other team immediately, I guarantee it would play entirely different. Everybody would just run forward, because that's what people do. They spawn in and they just run forward.
Yeah. And I think that people take for granted a lot of the ways that Bungie can change very simple things, like the direction you face when you spawn in order to incentivize folks to act in a certain way. And influence player behavior and the outcome of games sometimes, if it ends up being kind of like a stark enough behavioral change, right? So, it's just really interesting. That's the first thing that I thought of. It's just like we're going from what's I feel like is objectively kind of like a very passive, non-confrontational, very defensive meta that we've had over the last year and a half, to just very, like you said, it was stark, jarring, spawn in, looking at the enemy team, looking at jump up, and it seems like player behavior kind of confirmed that direction, basically. And it's very confrontational. It's a very stark difference from what we've been experiencing, whether it be in trials or otherwise in the wider pub meta over the last year and a half. And so I feel like with it being such a stark contrast, that they probably got some pretty good data. Which is again a perspective that I try to keep in mind when Drusy said that, but also I was thinking it a little bit myself that and Bungie said it, that they're going to be changing things up, the spawns and the matchmaking, but specifically they talked about revamping the spawns a bunch across a bunch of modes, so really interesting.
I kind of want to play it again because I like really mastering stuff, and one of the unique things about it was really refreshing in a way to just, you don't have the same head glitches, you don't have the same sniping points that you're used to, like everybody runs to this sniping point, here's where their head's going to be, like all that was out the window, and that's really refreshing. But I also like excellent execution and learning something like to the degree of like I know exactly where that person's head's going to be and that kind of stuff. So it was exciting in that way, even though it was jarring and frustrating solo. There was excitement and refreshing levels to it too, where it was like, oh, I got these whole new lanes to learn that nobody ever plays unless I'm playing Rumble on that map. So I'm excited for it to roll back around again, and even new maps that they have if they've changed any spawns, and see what that feels like, because it was refreshing in that way. I'm excited to find out how all the other maps play that they have this season.
See, that's one of the reasons why I love like chatting with you about this stuff, because you made me think about it in a different way than maybe I was previously thinking about it. Although admittedly I haven't thought about this too much since I didn't actually play it. You were saying how you were trying to recognize, because this was a new experience and so jarring, so different from what we've been experiencing over the last year and a half. You were saying that you're having to learn new player patterns, and then like there's a reward from learning those patterns and seeing those patterns come out reliably, consistently, right? That can make for a pretty rewarding, like, I guess, gameplay loop. I talk often about, and I'll talk a little bit more in a second about rewarding gameplay loops and how we've been missing a lot of that just at a baseline level, playing PvP in all the game modes. And so to hear you say that is actually kind of refreshing.
Yeah, and just to double down on that too, even pre-show, I didn't recognize it at the time, but that's what I was talking about pre-show whenever I was talking about how I ended up using this Glaive, because I really wanted to like make it work in this trials context to see how it performed. And I realized because everybody was running with a shotgun up to that jump up point outside, I started running to the jump up and jumping backwards up, and all the shotgunners who jumped up, I had that distance to use the Glaive on them, and like figuring out a new loop that didn't exist in the old spawns, and it was rewarding in that way, where like I figured out a new thing, started using it was rewarding. If I wasn't doing that, I was going around the side, backersing into 3 people and letting surrounded one shot with the Glaive, which we'll talk about later, but I'll save that for later. But yeah, finding those new loops, it was pretty fun.
Yeah. Awesome. That's what's up.
But I'll let you take over now, though, because I want to hear where you're going. That was all I got. That was all I got for
yes, that's all he's got, y'all. Oh man. Well, I was just talking about like rewarding gameplay loops, right? And there's a couple things that I've been talking about on stream and Twitter this week. One is that my overall concern with what I feel like is either an inability for Bungie's PvP development team as a whole to follow through on certain high-level goals that they themselves defined for rewarding PvP gameplay around the time of maybe like the 30th anniversary. It's an inability, I feel like, to consistently discern what changes need to be made and how other changes made in parallel fit into that vision, and then shape that high-level vision into a rewarding arena shooter experience through consistently well-executed micro-level sandbox changes, right? So shaping that vision into those micro-level sandbox changes. Or maybe, there's a possibility that there are more pressing business concerns we aren't privy to that are in conflict with those stated goals. I'm not sure. I also feel like they're trying to appeal to everyone, and in turn, it's one of those things where they're trying to appeal to everyone and in turn not really pleasing anyone. An example of this is the sandbox changes leading us into a more slow-paced tactical shooter domain, whereas Destiny 2 has traditionally been pretty squarely and successfully an arena shooter, where most of us enjoy it for its relatively fast-paced chaining of engagements with a more casual feel than, say, like an esports-ready Valorant or CSGO. So we enjoy it more for that casual feel and less for the feel of nearly, every playlist turning into that, everybody has that saying, right? That $10 million tourney, but I guess also with Arc Titans, right? So outside of outside of Arc Titans, speaking of that, defensive mechanics, like they far outweigh those incentivizing accurate aggression. I've spoken about that before. Converting and chaining engagements, which all three of those things, accurate aggression, and just aggressing on an enemy and having the tools on multiple, subclass kits in order to have a good potential to convert if you're doing that aggression with some degree of skill, and sometimes not so much, just high ease of use, which is Destiny 2, and I'm not judging that, of course, but that accurate aggression, converting, and chaining engagements, right? So basically, like the only unified vision I've seen in changes since the 3.0's dropped is not the one that they themselves define, but it's to overwhelmingly protect less experienced players, which I think is important. That in general, the principle to create that buffer between less experienced players, especially new light, and very experienced players, in order to provide that growth that they need in order to come into the wider population, basically play amongst the wider population, especially in connection-based playlists or trials and that sort of thing. But it's been to protect those less experienced players, but to the detriment of most everybody else. I've also seen this part of that unified vision of greatly reducing the impact of any one player. I've spoken about this before. Any one player can have in a game unless strictly aligning with the meta Bungie themselves define or allow. And the third thing is ensuring games are closer by overwhelmingly utilizing data to drive more quote unquote competitive games, but again, to the detriment of players and teams being able to exploit skill gaps defined. And this is why I say quote unquote competitive games, defined by intention, experience, and practice mechanical skill. Skill defined, like when we talk about skill, intention, experience, and practice mechanical skill being at the forefront of that, as opposed to builds, as opposed to out-of-band weapons and out-of-band subclasses. Right now, we've said it before, Arc Titan is overwhelmingly the favorite amongst, competitive teams, competitive for Destiny 2, of course, but for trials and, competitive, quote unquote, competitive playlists. And that's, anyone can pick that up, and that's going to increase your KD. Basically, the kit is pretty straightforward. The gameplay loop is pretty straightforward and rewarding. And I'm not knocking, the kit itself more than just, continuing to, say what everybody knows. It's just a little out of band. That's all. Just a little out of band. I'll just let it go from there. I'm certainly not, trying to make anybody feel bad for playing either something that is successful and they get the loot that they want, or they reach the objective or the goal that they want, or they're just having fun with it. I never want to like folks to assume that. So anyway, just saying, we can't be quote unquote proud of our skill, as Bungie said we should be, unless that means basically adopting metas defined by the usual out-of-band weapons. But in this sandbox, that's further made issue by the fact that certain, for example, we can make example of pulses and SMGs that end up having relatively low TTKs, but also on top of that are some of the highest ease of use and have some of the best forgiveness. And also on top of that, overwhelmingly dominate wide swaths of the range spectrum. So it's been a bit frustrating. It's been a bit frustrating because yet again, I feel like, one thing is said and either there isn't a consistent execution towards those goals defined by Bungie in the comms, or, it's one thing is said and another thing happens, and I'm just trying to, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure that out.
I'm so curious about so many of these things that you just said. I feel like I have to rewind it back a bit to see, because I feel like for me, I feel, another way about a lot of this stuff, but I'm trying to figure out what the base of it is that I feel different on. And I feel like maybe it comes down to two things, maybe. But I'll say those two things, and then I want to ask you a question too on it. But one is, the base, the Destiny 2 is arena shooter, and I don't feel that way at all. I feel like it's a space magic shooter, like you were talking about the builds, but I feel like that's like integral to even the crucible of Destiny at this, since its inception, really. I guess you could argue Destiny 2 at its beginning, when it first started with the primary weapons, they were trying to go more arena shooter route, but it didn't like really hit home for a lot of people. And then so that's like the core, I think, difference in when I approach it. I'm like, oh, well, there's always going to be something that's more powerful and something that's not. And then to follow up with that, it would be like, I feel like they have been making, and we've talked about it on the show, like those small changes that are coming more rapidly, sometimes to the detriment of the Crucible. Like they'll make these changes like, whoa, like now that thing's broken or whatever, it just comes really fast. But then I can see to your point of like, SMGs, like they nerf them and they're still just completely dominating the meta right now, as well as the stay in the back pulse rifle meta as well. And of course, Arc Titans. I feel like we could have named this episode War on Titans if we wanted to, but I and the stats back that up. Like Destiny Trials Report put out their sheet over the most, like for the top people that won like 90% of their games, what they were using, and it was like so many Titans. It was insane. And as we talked about before this season came, when a dev goes on a Crucible show, not this one, but on Firing Range, and I think it was Firing Range, I don't remember which one, and says like, hey, Arc Titans are really hot. Yeah, they're overpowered. And then they don't change. You're like, what's going on? Yeah. Like, if they're overpowered, why isn't something changing? So, yeah, that, and in fact, got a buff in some ways. That's where I'm like, okay, like, I would like some of these things to see change. But my follow-up question for you then is, coming at it from that perspective, what are the specific things that, like, is it primarily Titans in the War on Titans? I know it's kind of a joke, but even what weapon changes, what ability changes are the things that most are like, these things should have been fixed by now. If it's a problem of those smaller, I forgot the word you used, but those smaller changes along the way that could make the game flow better and feel more rewarding for you with those gameplay loops.
That's another discussion. That's another discussion for sure. I mean, there's barricades, bro. Barricades.
Yeah, that's where I thought this was going, but I wanted to be sure.
That's the second thing anyway that I was going to discuss was barricades. I mean, I think it's two major things. The second one is barricades. The first one is just, really out of band weapons. I mentioned certain pulses, certain SMGs that are just, and Lamarck is still out there as well, as you could see in the Trials Report with regards to most used weapons. But they just occupy so much, like I said, low TTK, a lot of forgiveness, and they operate and are effective to get that optimal TTK with a large amount of range forgiveness. Like you challenge a SMG up close, especially on an Arc Titan, you're probably dead. Right? They're going to either burn you out with the SMG, which is, very comfortable up close, up close, or they're going to burn you out a little bit, and then they're just going to melee you once they break the shields with knockout, which is still, quite potent, right?
The melee stuff, that is one area that I'm like, I feel that pain that you're talking about, because it's the combination of it being a player-to-player connected game and these melees that just out of band so far away, and you're like, oh man, like I just wanted a fair fight there, and I feel like it's just like the Titan 5 meter melee one, it just like I just can't get close, but also they're running at me with Antaeus and an overshield from Arc, and it's just like
stack it on top, most tough. Definitely. And then you've got damage resistance that's in there with Spark of Feedback, along with Spark of Resistance, and then Spark of Haste as well. You've also got what was I gonna say? Oh no, that was the end of that thought, but. I just feel like with Knockout and that melee, you should either have the melee range or you should have the healing, off of getting the kill, right? Off of that melee, like one or the other. To have both of those is problematic in the sandbox right now. But to go back to what I was saying with regards to, weapons, SMG can burn you out up close, can burn you out and then, a knockout melee, or it can still be reaching, like that 30 meters as well. So, and with a crazy TTK and a crazy forgiveness, and then let's add on, the rangefinder, let's add on the target lock, which forces people to think about their resilience, especially hunters that are super, stat strapped. It's just a culmination of all of that. Then I said it before as well, the fact that Titans are like that pick right now, it just further makes problematic the barricades, right? The towering barricades. Now, were you going to, I didn't want to cut you off. You were saying something before.
Yeah, we'll move into that in just a second. The only thing I was going to add there, and I'll throw it back to you for the barricades, is I'm curious if, it is, because I feel like these gameplay loops are there. The space magic loops are there, and it's just like these few things that slow the game down so much, or force it into a box of gameplay that maybe isn't as fun. And it's like if they adjusted these things, which I think the conversation is happening both here on Twitter, in Discords, about like, Titan barricades and the Arcs Titans in particular. And I'm curious, like, if they made adjustments to those things, do you feel like the whole game would just kind of flow better? Obviously, weapons are another discussion, SMGs and all that. And the way Graviton is still, doing its thing.
Oh, yeah. Good old Graviton.
But you think that, like, if that tweak was made to, I don't know what that tweak is, and maybe we'll talk about that here in a second, but if we could figure this out, would the whole game flow a lot better, I guess, is my question.
Well, I certainly don't want to act as if, I foresee, the future with these specific changes that I've talked about, and barricades, there's so many different factors. I know you're not saying that, but I don't want anybody to think, oh, I know better than the devs. So, I know this, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I should run this game.
And to be clear, we're not even saying like these are the solutions. We're just kind of like talking it out.
Most definitely.
And talking about some pain points that we feel, and then maybe talking about possibilities, but not any like this is the way to fix it.
Exactly.
That is like the downfall of the content creator, right? Is like, this is the ultimate. I know it. You're like, nah.
Yeah. And I just don't even, from a content creator perspective, and me not being a dev, and specifically a dev with Destiny 2, I just don't think it's the healthiest way to approach that conversation either.
Right.
I think the barricades, I think the things that I've mentioned so far are the low-hanging fruit. But I just think, going back to, that first part of this conversation, I just think it's so important for changes that are made in the sandbox across all teams, PvP teams, to be unified in this perspective that the game plays better, is more fun. Even if it's fun right now for folks, which I know it's fun for some folks right now, it'd be more fun if we just got into more engagements. If, the gameplay didn't stall so frequently. If, we had to be, like everything has to be so intentional with the exception, like we can't play with a lot of the weapons that we want to play with. If one person in my lobby equips a No Time to Explain on maps that frequently come up, but just a No Time to Explain in general, I have to play with so much more intention, or with my hand cannon shotgun, or I have to put on No Time to Explain. Right? Or I have to put on an immortal. I can't use what I want to use. There's a very narrow band right now, I feel like, with regards to both the kit and also the weapon. I'm talking about the subclass kit, the subclass / ability kit,
right,
and the weapon that I would use whenever somebody equips one or multiple of a very narrow range of weapons and abilities that are currently available in the Crucible right now. But then we come across what I feel like is the most problematic portion of this meta, problematic portion of this meta, which is Titan barricades. They're now, the way I see it, they're now in conflict with rewarding PvP gameplay loops. More and more of our game modes include objectives where tower barricades in particular overwhelmingly shine when attempting to secure, key POIs, points of interest. But they're also like too difficult to consistently counter through neutral game, right? I've spoken many times and gotten a lot of people on young arm car spines and trip mines because that's the build right there. That's the build to consistently counter and punish people that play passively with Titan barricades. There's nothing else I feel in the game that does that as high ease of use, and as effectively, and has the type of potential uptime to counter a class ability that just gives so much forgiveness. So those Titan, towering, I'm speaking mostly on towering barricades just in general, but they're like bullet sponges. They have relatively low animation time. They have relatively high uptime, which I'd mentioned a second ago. They make you one shot if you so much as, pull a toenail through one. They slow you if you move through one, and this is in conjunction with a class that has overwhelmingly the strongest close quarters kit, a plethora of abilities and exotics that also double down on that close quarters kit and enhance it to the point of overkill, such as Bastion Overshields, Strand Ripples that suspend. Lorally, you try to press through that shield, not only do you get one shot, but you just die from the sunspot, like straight up. Like that's the ultimate defensive measure right there. And not to mention the usual class ability synergy mods such as Bomber and Utility Kickstart to further reduce that kit's ability cooldowns, which are already hella strong.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. The time of like putting the barricade down, that is something that gets me too. I was showing you that clip beforehand of how I melted one, but I was still like, man, he got that barricade up so fast. Like it's just a very good, like, instant, nope, you can't touch me. Yeah. Unless you take this down, unless you waste everything on this barricade, or you take a full 3 seconds to shoot your entire clip at this and then reload and shoot another half a clip at it.
Yep. And a comparison that I make for folks to, draw some perspective with regards to that animation time is Warlock Rifts. Right? Yeah. There's the downside to dropping a Warlock. You don't see people just drop a recovery rift right in somebody's face, like directly. Yeah. I'm talking about there is not cover to the left, Lego. There's not cover to the right. It's just hey, I run up on somebody. I had a clip on Twitter today. I run up on somebody and we're about to get into this spicy engagement where I'm still probably gonna die because I got a hand cannon on, and I'm entering a spawn where people are literally spawning right behind that person, but I don't care. I'm just fiending for any engagement. I have my hand cannon on, my little, at this point, 100% a pea shooter. It's a 140 hand cannon. It ain't doing anything against the SMG and jug shield that I see running towards me. And instead, they just drop a barricade. And then, to be honest, like the clip was made dramatic because I literally just turn around and give up the fight. Like I literally don't even look at that person. The Titan runs away, the barricade goes down, and then I just get team shot from, being accessed to the spawn from like way back by No Time to Explain or something like that. But
it's actually a really funny clip. I actually really liked it.
I don't know what to say, man. It doesn't matter. It's not trials. I'm not doing this in trials or something like that. It's just good old skill-based matchmaking. You know what I'm saying?
Were
Control.
you playing Control? Was it Control? Is that
Control.
what it was?
Yeah, I just wanted to play a few games before we got into like community scrim, before we got into labs.
No, I don't even play Control anymore. Like I just play just because it's not the experience that I like. If I want to play the skill-based matchmaking, I'll go to trial or not trials. I'll go to competitive. You know?
Comp. Yeah.
And then, but otherwise, I'm going to be in the Relentless Rotator. Put me over in Supremacy.
It wasn't available because Trials was up and I wasn't playing Trials.
Oh.
So I couldn't play anything. It was elimination on the left. It was comp.
They should have played Trials. Should have played Trials. I know. I get it.
I know you do. I'm just messing with you. I'm about to poke at you. Just like the people on Twitter, bro. You know what I'm saying? You just like the people on Twitter.
See, that's what I would
Trials,
though.
Man, I just want to play 60
I don't
for a
care. I don't care about the KD. I don't care about my stats or anything. You know, and I know you don't really. It's more like I like that the 3v3 experience.
I hear that.
And I like going in solo into frustrating scenarios sometimes. You know, I know a lot of people don't like doing that, but I'm like, I don't care. If it's just a random matchmaking, just throw whoever in. That's what I want. Sometimes they're way better than me. Sometimes they're not. And I like, sometimes my teammates are terrible. Sometimes they're great. It's just whatever you get. And I really dig that experience. But so I literally haven't touched Control since they put in the Relentless Rotator and changed it all around. So this season, I haven't done it at all, which is crazy. That's just crazy. Like maybe I did once or twice to see what it felt like. But I played Rumble a lot, and I played the Relentless Rotator a few times, and mainly Trials. So that's an Iron Banner, I guess, and that's it. Yeah.
To be fair, you know, you have a wider tolerance. You know.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and you know, nothing wrong. I will definitely say I don't have at this point. I've just been frustrated for so long that I don't have as wide of a tolerance, you know, which is a me thing. It just is it's a me thing.
Well, not just you. It's a lot of the population.
Well, I don't want to speak for anybody else.
Even the Destiny Master Breakdowns, like very committed, like Crucible section of Destiny Master Breakdowns, they're like, yeah, I'm not going to solo Trials. You're crazy, you know. Like, what are you doing?
I'll definitely defer. You know, I don't want to get in trouble for, you know, speaking for anybody else or expanding my, you know, perspective beyond my own perspective. But I just have a very narrow tolerance for it, especially, you know, playing our community scrims, simply because that man, the community's done a fantastic job of making that just super rewarding, but keeping the scrim rules as open as possible to the point where like it's way more things allowed there than, you know, a conventional like scrim rule set. And because I've gotten that rewarding gameplay that I've been missing from in nearly every single game over the last year and a half of playing, that has been rewarding and fun.
That's cool.
It's really difficult it's even more difficult for me to go back. And so that's why I say again, you know, I recognize that some of it is definitely you know, on a more narrow end perspective wise, simply because I know that you know, my tolerance is maybe you know, quite a bit lower than the average Crucible player. So I recognize that, and I want to be fair about that.
Of course, yeah. Well, I feel you on a lot of the stuff with the barricade, and I'm curious where you're gonna take if you're gonna talk about what you talked about on Twitter with solving it, because I was like. I thought it was a really interesting discussion. You were talking about it online. I saw Destiny Master Breakdown talking about it in their Discord as well. Just thoughts on like Titan barricades. Is it too fast? Is it too much health? Is the damage, you know, like there's just so much there.
Yeah, there really is like so much there. And, you know, I mentioned that example before, you know, of me playing in that Titan just popping that barricade. No damage done to them whatsoever. They just top it like that. That's the Bastion Overshield Lorelei Restoration meta. Like that's what's incentivized many to, at best, be more concerned with playing their life than taking, you know, fair engagements and converting kills. And at worst, it's created a playstyle that, like, really, really frequently includes Titans popping their towering barricade before nearly every engagement, even if it's just a plain old vanilla barricade, right? It ends up stalling engagements, it stalls games, and what frequently started as a 1v1 becomes a one versus a Titans team, either rallying to that team, that teammate, who won't peek from behind that shield until they get there, or that Titan's teammates with the way the spawns, and they're, I guess, experimenting with the spawns. They literally spawn directly on top of them. I know folks have been seeing this. But like I got clips that I'm literally just accumulating a bunch of clips of just like, what? Why would they spawn? There was somebody sent me a clip. Oh my God. Somebody sent me a clip of them shooting at an enemy in little cubbies on Endless Vale.
Yeah.
A teammate, an enemy teammate spawned inside that person in cubby. I've never seen that before.
Oh, that's weird.
On that map. But I got other really clips weird. Which were just as egregious, where I'm like, why would that person, like, I'm trying to have just a 1v1 fight, just a 1v1 fight. Why is somebody spawning on their teammate and making it an immediate 1v2 in the center of the map? Like, I'll just let that sit. I'm gonna let that rock.
That's so weird. I did think about you this week, because I haven't had any weird spawns like that, but I had twice this has happened this season now, where I get Cascade Point rolling on one of my new Cascade Point weapons, and I turn around and somebody spawns like just far enough away for me to use the Cascade Point rifle, and it's hilarious to watch that super strong overshield just go like all the way down with my 1000 RPM whatever I'm using, you know, and oh man, it's funny. And I got the kill too. I was like, no way. I shrunk that overshield so fast, and you know how strong it is now.
Oh, I know how strong it ain't. A 140 ain't really tapping at that. I gotta tell you, it's tickling. It ain't tapping, it's tickling at that point. There's no 3 tap. There's 3 tickles. So yeah. I basically, you know, I need to just be Lego at this point. So it's all I'm saying is, you know, this whole thing with like just stalling out games with these barricades. This happens so often. This is another part where I just want to just keep perspective and recognize that my tolerance is definitely lower than the average like PvP player, but it's just happened so often that Titan barricades are just stalling out my games to the point where I can't get any sort of, you know, rewarding engagement, like let alone like I can't get chain engagements, but let alone some games I can barely even get 1 or 2 in like just engagements. But this has been happening so much since Solar 3.0 dropped with restoration and healing and that sort of thing, that when a Titan pops a barricade now, before our engagement even begins, like before damage is taken by either of us, before we even get into that, you know, preeminently, like that I just turn around and I go find somebody else that, you know, to get into a fight with, you know? So it needs, yeah. And so here's my thought, you know, because we got to move on, of course. Titan barricades have just increasingly power crept each major sandbox since the inception. And in their present form, I just feel like they need to be updating for our current sandbox. My recommendation this week on Twitter was to remove the damage and slow when a player moves through an enemy barricade, while keeping the damage resistance from sources it currently protects against, so that it can continue to be strong for objective game modes and objectives, and against opponents who fail to properly close distance to challenge in close quarters, but provide a more clear, and clear being a key word here as well, especially for my less experienced players, a more clear and consistent neutral game counter, but only for opponents who can effectively close the distance and convert that kill. So this would help games move along much more quickly, especially with the type of representation we're now seeing out of Titans in the Crucible, and also provide a bit of pressure on Titans, who, by the way, still have, pound for pound, the best close quarters kit by far, to then use their barricade, pressure them to then use their barricade more mindfully, more similar. I'm not talking about you got to be a genius to use your barricade effectively. I'm just talking about more akin to just a Warlock Rift, for example, just a little more mindfully, where you're not just popping it out in the middle of nowhere and it's just a get out of jail free, right? So right now, Towering barricades are more often than not just a very effective get out of jail free card, a stalemate, or you just end up, you know, pre-popping it for some outright advantage, such as an an overshield, or, you know, Laura or something, you know, like that. So that would be my thought. I thought about it a lot too, and you know, this is not like a new idea that I'm presenting by any means.
Yeah.
It's been tossed around for quite a bit, but I thought about that. I thought about, I've been talking about maybe increasing the primary damage and reducing the health from primary damage on the shield. And a couple of other suggestions that folks made on that same thread. But, I stand by. I think this would just be healthy for the game at this point, while not at all removing a lot of the advantages that Towering Barricades provide for Titans.
Yeah, I saw the back and forth of you with some people on this, and I feel like I fall on the side of it being too much of a nerf. Like, I want to see something change with it for sure. And maybe that means even like it damages you slower, or like not as much, or only half, or like something like that, or the animation of it going down is slower, or it has less health. Like any of those things we looked at too. But I think if you take the health all the way, I'm like hesitant, like as a Titan, like previous Titan main, I don't know that I would throw it down at all. Like that would just prompt me into like I'd only use the new dodge that they got, and that was it. Because it would just be so like just putting down a wall. And if you're sniping, maybe that would be beneficial, but outside of that, I would never use it. And then maybe on an objective, like you said, but most of the time I'm not playing an objective. Like I'm playing around the objective. I'm not playing the objective. But that's just me personally. I know everybody else could find different uses for it, and find different strengths to it. But for me, I would prefer them look at the damage to it, because what I would like to do is like let me dump my clip in it and take that Titan by surprise, and like learn exactly how much damage my favorite weapon needs to do to take that down, and not let it waste all my special ammo. Like I feel like dumping all your special ammo is not a solution for.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But that's what they're asking us right now, and I don't like that answer.
Well, I don't think it's a very good answer. It's the same along with using, being forced to use a hotkey weapon in order to still like shoot at it. Like that,
yeah. And even that's not enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough. And like on top of that like you got to think of it kind of like when we talk about what Kemi Cake said about handling, right? Handling is your TTK. Not thinking of your TTK or the length of an engagement purely, by first shot to third shot, for example, with a 140 hand cannon, but thinking about as soon as you get there, right? How quickly you're able to start that first shot. That's part of your TTK as well. And when we talk about engagement length, if you have to shoot at a barricade, right, that's increasing the engagement length.
That's a good way to think about it.
You're getting all the disadvantages of not being able to drop somebody. So what's the point? If we're talking about dropping somebody quickly so that you can ensure 1v1, whereas teammates are more readily available to get to that situation, to that engagement, to help out their teammate, you're basically extending the engagement, the length of time for that engagement, to the degree that you risk it no longer becoming a 1v1, right? You can't effectively chain those engagements in a way that ensures you get like that fair 1v1. You have to always ensure you're around teammates and stuff like that, which de-incentivizes flanking, which, de-incentivizes lone wolf strategies and play styles. It just makes the game more one-dimensional, which is where we're at right now in a way that I haven't seen in a long time sandbox. And so, you talk about, okay, I don't know when I'd use it, but think about it like this. I mentioned all those exotics, all those abilities that end up enhancing the kit and enhancing barricades in particular. Well, you wouldn't lose those advantages. You would just have to build into it a little bit more than just your class ability,
Yeah.
Right? So say, for example, you want to put up that barricade and you actually want to do damage or maybe even incapacitate an enemy. Okay, well, you've got options for that. You just end up incapacitate. You end up equipping dredgers. I can't remember how you pronounce it. Lash or something like that. Strand.
Yeah.
Where you just send out those ripples and suspend your enemy beyond that barricade. If they're pushing and all the way far back, that goes like 10 meters or something like that. Maybe not 10, but like 5-6 meters or something where it's effective. If you want to heal completely to the point where you negate people pushing on you and you using your shield to negate damage so that you can heal and you have time, but they want to push you anyway, Crest of Alpha Lupi, right? Or Bastion. on Void. So you just like you can get a similar effect. You want to do damage, you end up equipping the exotic that ends up sending out a solar wave, right?
Yeah, but when are you going to use, like, no other class requires an exotic for their ability to be good. Like, Warlocks, like, damage or recovery is good on its own. Hunter's dodge is good on its own.
You say that as if there's not additional utility. I mentioned how to, you have to build into it a little bit more to get that additional utility back, as if you don't have additional utility beyond that,
like intrinsically. Yeah. I just don't think it's enough. And I think that's just a difference in opinion on how it works at base.
Yeah, I just think it's too much. I think the way it currently is, it just is too much. And not only is it too much, but it's also incentivizing. It has incentivized a change in player habits that now we can't come back from that. Titans aren't going back. They're not going back to not just popping barricades whenever, right? And then if we start to limit their class ability more, you don't want that if you're a warlock or you're a hunter, right? Because then people are going to start asking for your class abilities to be limited.
Yes,
right.
Because that is the flip side. Is the well, what about the hunter dodge intrinsically is really good for breaking the accuracy and lock that the person has on you in that moment, and then you add in worm husk, so you add in healing nades, you add all the things to immediately flip the situation, but it's a mobile version of that versus the Titan being stationary.
People still aren't using that over Titan right now. My point.
No, I agree.
I guess my point. We can talk about this forever. I love this. My point is that it's about bringing it more in line, with others. Like, hunter dodge is awesome, but so many of my hunters, they just play Titan now. Right, I mean, we just got hunters have just got nerfed. I don't want to go into that, but my point is, Titan Barricade is far and away the winner. Hunter dodge is awesome. I'm a hunter. Hunter dodge is awesome. I will not be biased to the degree that I don't recognize the benefits of hunter dodge, but I would hope that we can. Most of us can agree, especially that have seen, have been in trials a lot or been in competitive a lot, and recognize the strength of Titan Barricades right now and the type of utility that it has beyond the other two, especially as we get more objective game modes, and especially because Titans again have they have an overwhelmingly stronger close quarters kit on all, but specifically Arc, Void, and Solar subclasses to just really punish you if you come within range of that close quarters. We ain't jumping no more. We ain't jumping no more. The best neutral game that we had was jumping over it with Stompies, but that's really inconsistent now because you better hold your dodge. I literally have started to just poke at people. I'll watch them play on stream, or I'll watch them through third person as we're playing community scrims, labs, or whatnot, and I'll just be like, "Oh man, look at you, man! You're not even playing right, bro. You ain't holding your dodge. What are you doing?" You know what I'm saying? Just unbind it. I just be like, "You don't deserve that. You ain't hold your dodge, man. You cheating." So it's just
gosh.
It's bringing it in line. That's the way that I see it. It has too much utility, and the game, and it's not even Towering Barricades' fault as much as it is a meeting in the middle of Tower Barricades themselves power creeping the sandbox a little bit in their current form, and also the game just coming in line. Right? Just lining up like a celestial, all the planets are lining up, and it's looking perfect, specifically to give Titan Barricades that advantage over the other class abilities. So,
and the stats show it.
Of course.
You look at the trials report and you're like, oh yeah, Titans are hot. And Bungie devs have said it, they are hot. And so it's all that comes together. You want to see some change, and I'm with you on all that. I'm just curious what they'll actually do. Where will they land with this? And I think I have my own ideas of what I'd be happy with, but I really want to see something. I really want to see some move here, and I'm curious to see where they land with it.
Yeah, and me, in the end, I don't care whether they adopt my, suggestion or not. I just want the game to move again, and I want people, even if the tools say nothing changes whatsoever, Titan Barricades stay the exact same, but players just adopt I'm going to commit to fair engagements much more frequently than what I'm doing right now. You know, I'm not going to be so concerned, especially in quick play. I'm not going to be so concerned with, you know, my life that I always have to have like a discernible 45 hit point advantage, or, you know, restoration × 2, or a sunspot on my body, or, you know, teammates behind me. Say nothing changes but the play style. Then I'd be okay with 100% Titan barricades staying exactly where. But obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Obviously that's not going to happen. And that's just the larger part of the conversation, is that I could care less about a nerf to Titan barricades. I just want to say it again. But it's not going to happen. The game is not going to move again until Titan barricades are addressed. It just is what it is. It's the same thing with Stompies. That change happened, and nobody, especially like it was really sad to see, you know. But Bungie felt like things needed to change. You know, it was really important that things needed to change, and so they made a really, I would say, generally unpopular decision in that really hard-handed nerf to Stompies. But it was because they really felt like, man, we really have to change player habits and play styles. It's just, you know, they felt that need. I didn't see it, but they felt it. So I hope that they feel, you know, at the very least, the impetus, regardless of whether they adopt my change or not.
Yeah, for sure. I feel you.
Cool. Last thing I was going to say. Lego's like, Tony, don't you have one more thing to say? That's true. Fine, I'll say this. Yo, people. There's a very distinct difference between providing feedback based on your gameplay experience and harassing and starting a witch hunt on real people behind Destiny's development.
Oh, yeah. For real.
Please, you harass devs, you don't deserve to have any platform to speak on in the Destiny community. Full stop.
I don't understand how people, like a community manager will come out and say, hey, this is my personal platform, like, please go and talk about it here. Like, that's great. Give your feedback here. And they come back and like, yeah, but, and then continue to harass them. And I'm like, y'all, come on. Like, they given you a clear place to go and present that feedback, and there's a place to do that. And also, like, with each other, like, you could clearly do that with each other, but you don't have to go at a dev to go after them. There's just no reason at all.
It's not even about the game anymore. You make it personal about a particular dev, you know? Like, we had, you know, the last thing I'll say about it is we had a dev that, man, was giving us great insights into people that were on Twitter at the time. Definitely remember who that, you know, person was giving us, oh man, just blessing us with insight behind what was happening in the sandbox and what was going to happen in the future. They were the ones that told us that we weren't getting Twilight Garrison back, right? And they provided a really cogent and reasonable reason why, which was that Twilight Garrison, what it was, that identity now belonged to Icarus Dash, you know, and they're not going to provide that to an exotic on Titan. It feels like a cheap reproduction. They didn't say this, but they alluded to the fact that it was a cheap reproduction in the sense that they want the game to feel, they want Titan to feel unique. They want Warlock to feel unique. They want Hunter to feel unique. And so if they were going to give a movement ability, they're going to give it Thruster. They're going to give it something that is unique to the identity of Titan, right? And then, you know, like, people started harassing them and they got off Twitter and they don't talk to us anymore. Like, come on.
I know. Yeah.
like come on,
we don't
man.
need more of that.
Come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people were here for this, and they do the same thing over. Like, look, people are going to be people. I don't doubt that that's going to happen again, but I'm telling you, we give people their platforms by following them, by subscribing, by viewing, and by giving them an audience and engaging. You know, don't do it with people that harass devs. It's so one of the most clear-cut things that I can say about interacting with a game company is just don't do it. It's a clear line. Don't cross it. Don't cross it. And don't give engagement. You know, mute or block those people that do it, because it's just really bad as a whole for both, you know, our favorite games development and the community that so many of us share together. So
1000%. I'm not even gonna say anything else because you said it perfectly. That's the way it is, y'all. Moving on to some stuff that, is relevant to last episode and this episode. We normally have a section that's like for corrections that either community scientists come in and they're like, actually, it's like this. This isn't a correction, but we have final numbers on the Discord perk. They've been researching it. And I kind of guessed last episode. I was like, it feels like under pressure, close to like when you're on that last shot, but I was on a fusion rifle when I was testing this. And so last shot on a fusion rifle is not actually the last shot. Under pressure counts every single bolt in the thing. And so it isn't till your very last bolt comes out that you're at that 50% decreased accuracy cone size. And so Discord now, it gives 25% decreased accuracy cone size. We can confirm that, which is the exact same as under pressure's initial benefits, which is what I was seeing when I was on the last shot on the fusion rifle.
Look at you.
Yeah, it's very similar to what I thought it would be. And 25% of a decreased accuracy cone size is a very, very good. Just think about, some of the other perks that we've come to love, like Keep Away. Keep Away is a 5% narrowed accuracy cone size. This is 25%. So 5 times better than Keep Away, which is very, very good. And it counts once you get Discord going. That's for your entire mag, unlike Under Pressure, which is just for the end of your mag. So it's a great perk for not only special weapons for that regenerating your ammo, but also for primary weapons for having that 25 decrease accuracy cone size. So wanted to mention that now that we have numbers.
It's crazy. Like a couple things. One is, why haven't we seen Discord, on a shotgun? Why haven't we seen Discord on a shotgun? Which shotgun?
It's a world drop this season, and I got one. It's the one that you... No. It's shoot. Now I'm gonna have to look it up. I have it, and I have it on me. I should just look at my own inventory because I'm like, I've been using it.
Has it been any good?
It's the only shotgun that has it. It's not great PvP shotgun. Okay. No, it's an aggressive frame though, so that's nice. But it's not a great shotgun. So it is Last Man Standing. It's the one that you get from the seasonal event this year, not the Taken ones that you can craft, but the other ones.
Like Gambit one. It's the OG Gambit,
the OG
Gambit Prime one. Okay.
So you can't craft it. It's all RNG, but I know you got those Season of the Deep engrams laying around, y'all. You stack them up, playing Crucible, go in there and spin them on Last Man Standing, get a Discord drop, because it's, even if you don't use it for PvP, I haven't gotten a good PvP roll on it, but even if you don't use it there, it's super fun in PvE running around with double special, swap into a shotgun and just
that's fair, because double special still, because was it Mossy or was it I think it was Clarity along with their collaborators on Twitter ended up digging into double special and how much Mossy, yeah. It was Mossy, yeah. How much benefit it provided for dropping heavy, running double special. If folks didn't realize, I'm sure all of you hella smart people realize this. I was probably last on the train a while back when I figured out running double special, a special for your kinetic, and a special in your energy slot, basically gets heavy to drop more in PvE, like a significant amount more.
A crazy amount more. That was really cool to see.
Most definitely. And so Discord is fantastic for that, right? If you run double special, then you get the benefits of Discord towards the actual weapon effectiveness, but more importantly towards ammo generation, right? Just out of thin air, ammo generation for your special. But then on top of that, you get the benefits in PvE if you're running double special of heavy ammo dropping significantly more. So you just get ammo on ammo, and it's just just really cool in that regard. The second thing is, I need somebody from the Destiny Massive Breakdowns community. All right, I need somebody. Lego's laughing. He's giggling because he already knows that there's about, I would say, about 60, 65, maybe 70% chance that I'm about to poke at you. I need somebody, I need Bryce, I need somebody to create me a meme. And y'all know the meme. It's with that white guy, and he is looking back at one woman while he's holding hands with his girlfriend. That meme right there, right? I need somebody to create that for Lego. I need them to either put Legos
I know where this is going.
Do you know where this is going? Put Legos logo on the dude's head and on his girlfriend, or the girl that he's holding hands with. Put Cascade Point.
Yep.
Put Cascade Point. Then have him looking back at Discord. Do it. Oh my God.
That is it, man. That is
Please tag me
week.
in it. Please tag me in it.
I'm telling you.
We're gonna go crazy with that meme. I can't get him. Woo! I can't get this dude to not talk about one of those two things. We need like a swear jar specifically for Cascade Point and Discord. Do you know how much money I'd have between this and the pre-show? This dude can't stop talking about these perks, bro. It's crazy.
They're busted. They're so good. They're so good. Physics had to ban them, so you know it's good.
I didn't ban Cascade Point, but Discord is wild. Discord is wild on special ammo.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go get. I'm looking forward to that meme, but let's go get to these weapons. Before we do, though, we want to say thanks to all the patrons for keeping the lights on that make the show happen, and a special thanks to our ongoing sponsor, Guardians, who give a massive level every month. We've got I'm K Rose, A Modern Viking, Bryce Aroni, hey Bryce, Moonlight, Deacon, This Moment, Shazzle, and Askian Monk.
Sorry, I was thinking about that meme. I'm not gonna lie. I was literally like, yo, Bryce, can you please make it? I was thinking about, oh my God, dude. If you'd like to support the show, please visit DestinyMassiveBreakdowns.com and click on the, we're still, so stop laughing, man. I keep on looking at you. And click, I gotta cover you up. And click on the Patreon. You get access to members only channel in the Discord, behind the scenes info, and input on the future of the show, plus access to our legendary annual merch drop. As a reminder, you can also earn a shout out by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Ratings are great, but the reviews really help us to spread the word and get more ears tuned in every week. Keep in mind as well that if you want to give general feedback regarding the show, particularly constructive feedback on how to continue to improve upon what we do, we have a ton of outlets outside of the reviews, such as the Destiny Massive Breakdowns Discord or our personal socials like Twitter. We really take all of it to heart because we always want to give you guys the best show possible every other week. Finally, and certainly not least, thanks to the Destiny Massive Breakdowns editors, Nettie Smith and Autodidactos, for their hard work on this show, and also Podcast vs. Enemies. Fantastic. Y'all make sure you subscribe and check that out if you haven't already. It's the Destiny PvE show that explains it all. If you think we sound great, just know that it's because of Nettie and Autodidactos. I don't know why, too. I always want to say, like, Autobot. Whenever I see Autodidactos, I'm always thinking Transformers, man. I can't help it. I can't help it.
I mean, he's assembling Autobots over here. Well, yes, thank y'all for making it sound great.
No doubt.
I get so many comments about that, and we appreciate y'all. And now we are on to the main talk of these Trials weapons. We've got Trials, so we'll be going over the Trials weapons, and then the comp playlist weapon and the Grandmaster weapon this season. So Trials, we got a revamp of the Messenger, and then we got the Glaive. So let's talk about the Messenger first. It's a high impact frame pulse rifle, 340 RPM. That's actually 337.5 in game. Some of those in-game RPMs versus the stated RPM are interesting. Not so much on this one, but on the Glaive, I thought it was really interesting. So on the Messenger, though, it's not that much different from what's stated. 2 burst, it's a 0.67 second TTK across the board. All Resil, you just have to land those headshots for 9 and 10 Resil, all headshots. But still, below 9 Resil, you can hit a body shot within that. So you know Headseeker's going to be good on that. Whenever it's like right on the edge, you're like, oh, Headseeker's gonna rock here. That's what I'm thinking anyway. And so stats-wise, this is the best range stability, handling, and airborne effectiveness of any high impact. Resurgence Claymore is the only high impact with higher aim assists, with just 2 more at 39. What are your thoughts on Messenger, Tony? Is this a weapon that you used a lot in the past, or are you excited to see it come back at all?
It's not a weapon that I use a lot in the past. I didn't really use Resurgence Claymore a lot when it was hot. I do, that archetype. That subfamily is kind of appealing to me, but you said it in the pre-show, and I kind of agree with you. I don't really have the patience, for slow rate of fire stuff. Like, put me with like a transfiguration. What is it, like a 150 RPM scout, the slowest RPM scout? I'm probably gonna go to sleep. I'm not gonna lie. You know what I'm saying? Like, just give me a 200. Just give me a Mida. Just like with, if we're talking about a pulse rifle, just give me like a peace of mind. Give me an autumn wind. I just want to go burr. you know? And I could
Yeah.
really care less that it drops in like a 2-burst. Yeah, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me. But
yeah,
that certainly is not to diminish the fact that, you know, its effectiveness by any means. And we can continue to talk about that, of course.
I'm kind of with you. It's not my preferred weapon of choice. Even within the hard-hitting pulse rifles, I feel like I prefer the aggressive frame more. Something about the high impact just doesn't do it for me. And I thought, so I'll talk about these perks, but I got a roll that I thought I would like more, and I don't know. You know, like you said, you mentioned Redrick's Claymore, and I have probably used Redrick's more than I have Messenger. I got the original Redrick's, and
oh man, that's back when Desperado went absolute burr though. So it was kind of like that middle ground. So sure, you know, like you end up having to wait around for like 15 minutes for that 2-burst, right? Because it's you know, but once you did, oh my God, the reward of that Desperado, the fact that you could extend Desperado by reloading halfway through it. It was a high, especially at a time back then where you could only really get a similar feeling with Redrick's and maybe Not Forgotten / Luna.
Yeah.
I don't know if there were too many guns or if any other, like legendaries in particular, where you got that same feeling from something so powerful and rewarding after a conditional. You know, obviously Not Forgotten Luna with hitting 2 headshots. And I think it's 2 headshots, and then it activated the perk on it. But Redrick's as well, by getting 1 kill, the Desperado just going crazy, especially with Outlaw. It just felt so snappy, so smooth.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna need a Head Seeker roll, honestly, to make a more valuable opinion on the gun, because at base I just don't like using this gun, and so I'm sorry for those that do. We're still going to talk about it in depth here, and it does, if you are good with this gun, you will be granted a 0.67 TTK across the board, and that's great. And none of these kill perks are going to change that, except for, I mean, it'll change by like 1 bullet, but you still shoot 2 bursts. The real one that changes it is Desperado, which this weapon still has in its reprised form, and it bumps your RPM from that 340 to 435 with a 0.55 second TTK, so about 100 RPM faster. The thing is, you still have to hit all your crits to get that, so more than likely you're shooting 3 shots at that point, and then, you know, you're not near as close. So it's a funny weapon, you know? That's one of the reasons I don't tend to lean towards Desperado as much. Yeah, so 3 shots, if you do 3 bursts, that's a 0.96 second with Desperado. So, I don't know, like, that's still not very fast, and that's why I lean into the Head Seeker.
Yeah, the difference between the 0.55 and the 0.67, especially with the fact that you still have to hit those crits. Yeah, I can see that being like not enough reward, right?
Exactly.
For that over, you know, just having like a Head Seeker, which is just consistently, you know, ideally you're consistently hitting that 0.67. We can talk about it here in a second. I'll let you, you know, kind of go over a couple of these perks here, but I've definitely got some thoughts.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring up you started off by bringing up the old version of Desperado, because it was different. It was faster, and they changed it, and you can feel that. Okay.
Yes.
So, third column, I want to name some things we lost here. If you're used to the old version, we don't have stats for all heating up, Killing Wind, or Zen Moment anymore, which Killing Wind and Zen Moment are pretty big ones to lose. And then Celerity, Elemental Capacitor, Frenzy, and One for All are also gone. So if you have old versions with those perks, you might want to hold on to them in case there's something interesting there for you. Encore was there, but it was moved to the 4th column now. And all your classics like Rapid Hit, Moving Target, Outlaw, Perpetual Motion, Desperado, Harmony, and Headseeker are all here. And then added was Offhand Strike, Under Over, and Discord, and also Kinetic Trimmers and Keep Away in the 4th column. So that's all the new stuff. As far as like kill stuff, we already talked about Desperado. We've also got Harmony and Kill Clip, which both give you the same 0.6 second TTK. The difference is that Harmony only lets you get all Resil 5 crits instead of 6, whereas Kill Clip, you can get 4 crit 1 body any Resil. So that extra damage does make it a little easier for you to get that 2 burst. Kind of appealing, actually, over Desperado. But then, on the other hand, we've also got Headseeker. which will let you 1 body and 5 crit any Resil, whereas previously just at base 9 and 10 Resil you need all crits. Now you don't. You can 1 body and then 5 crit any Resil.
Yep.
But also, which I did not know this and did not recognize this, is that with Headseeker, you can 2 body and 4 crit up to 7 Resil. That feels very lenient to me, honestly.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah. 2 body, 4 crit, up to 7 Resil. At 2 bursts at 0.67 seconds without any perks active. That's just Headseeker at base. That sounds good.
No, it sounds great. It sounds fantastic. And I mean, up to 7 too. We're not just talking about hunters anymore, right? We're talking about hunters and warlocks. So
exactly. And then once you put some surge mods on top of that, you're doing that with any Resil. And shout out to, I wouldn't have known any of this because Headseeker is super complicated now because of the way it bumps the crit. So shout out to Hugo with the Destiny Master Breakdowns community who made the D2 PvP resilience check spreadsheet. That's what I used to kind of get all this info. So shout out to Hugo. I really appreciate it. Mossy's spreadsheet is usually the one I go to, and Mossy contributed to Hugo's spreadsheet. But yeah, I feel like every time I need something, I look at the Destiny Breakdown community and there's a spreadsheet somewhere that somebody's
there's a spreadsheet somewhere. 100%.
I got somebody to thank.
These they take the science pretty seriously, man, and I love it. We're definitely benefiting from it.
Definitely. Last thing I'll say about Headseeker, and I know people are like, hey, Lego's damage stacking too much, but I'm not damage stacking any kill perks. I'm just saying, if you have 3 times surge mods on,
which all you need, by the way, is 1 orb and 3 surge mods on your boots. Just want to clarify
pick up
that.
1 orb, you can 3 body, 3 crit with Headseeker. That's crazy, and that's only up to a certain result. I think that's up to like 4 Resil. I didn't write it down here, but I'm pretty sure it's up to 4 Resil. But still, a lot of people running under 4 Resil, including
Hunters.
Tony.
No, I had to stop, man. I had to stop. People started taking advantage of it too much, man. I couldn't. Yeah, man.
I'm proud of you. Okay, that's pretty much all I got perks wise. There is Discord here, which a reminder, real quick. It's activated when you get a kill with another weapon, and then you swap to Discord weapon, and it has 7 seconds of auto reload on a primary weapon, auto reloading the entire mag after a kill, gives half the speed of snapshot on a primary weapon, and then gives 25% decreased accuracy cone size, as we talked about earlier, and gives 30 airborne effectiveness. That's like 5
That's a lot.
perks in one right there.
That is a lot. Yeah,
it's crazy. So that's pretty much everything that there is to say about here. I mean, you've got Encore and these other perks here too, but I mean, Headseeker just rules that fourth column to me.
Yeah,
there's nothing else.
And keep in mind, I feel like I always have to, and I don't mean this in the way it just sounded, but let's just always remember, right, that Headseeker gives you aim assist as well.
Yes.
Gives you aim assist as well.
Absolutely, and that's what makes the 2 body and 4 crit up to 7 Resil so appealing.
Yeah.
Because you just start aiming at the body, that aim assist kicks in, and your burst just naturally kicks up.
Exactly.
You start hitting those crits, you get that 2 burst. I would like to tell you that I tried it and it was awesome, but I don't have a Headseeker roll in my vault, so I couldn't try it out. But I almost guarantee with the Headseeker change, that feels really nice. I did get a drop with Discord, and it did feel pretty nice, but I still felt like I would have liked something like Headseeker. Something to point out here with Discord giving you that increased accuracy, you can stack that with accuracy from like Keep Away or Encore if you want to go that route. I still think Headseeker's aim assist boost with Discord's accuracy boost and all the other things that Discord does is really beneficial, but you could also double down on aim assist alone and go moving target Headseeker. And that would be interesting as well. There's a lot of new ways to play here. The one thing I would say, please don't do, what are you thinking, is offhand strike. I got an offhand strike Desperado roll, which is hilarious.
Somebody had to try it.
But like, don't do it. It's so... offhand strike on primary weapons is definitely a tease. I just don't see the point there. I don't know. I'll mess around with it some more, but every weapon that I've tried to use offhand strike on that shoots very fast that I think like, oh, this will control my burst, it feels terrible. I hate it so much. So maybe I don't know, maybe you're like Drewski and you like the hip fire of the BXR, and maybe this works for you, but it's not working for me.
Well, to be fair, BXR is god tier on the hip fire. I mean, it was made for that hip fire, you know.
So is offhand strike though. 95% like smaller accuracy cone size and 95% smaller accuracy cone growth.
Well, I'm just saying, on a primary weapon, it seems that you need both. You need the offhand strike to benefit your hipfire, but you need something else. You either need something like a hipfire grip that possibly helps it out to make it viable. But more importantly, I was just saying that the BXR, the frame itself, you know, like benefits it. So the two synergize together. Whereas, I mean, like BXR is already very, very good. One of the best primaries in the game, you know, for hip firing, if not just far and away the best primary in the game. For hip firing, because it was straight up designed for it in mind.
Right.
So offhand strike would only enhance that functionality.
Oh my gosh! Imagine if they put offhand strike on that gun.
Don't do it. No. Is
that legal?
I hope not. I hope not, bro. I'm telling you, Drewski's got to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it, bro. I don't want to deal with it.
Okay, so I'll just say my role real quick. I would spec into stability pretty hard here with the way this thing kicks and how important it is that you land all those shots and not have it kick too much. So I'm going to go stability masterwork, arrowhead break. I know that puts me in 90 recoil direction. I can live with that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Ricochet rounds. And then I'd run Discord and Headseeker just because with an adept stability mod, if I get the adept version, just because even without Discord, Headseeker should feel good at base. And then if I happen to get a kill with my other weapon and then swap to this one and I've got Headseeker and Discord active.
Yeah, it would feel really nice.
Yeah, that would feel really good.
That would feel really nice.
With all those stats, I've got 74 stability and 74 range. That feels pretty good. Plus snappy handling from Discord. And then if Alacrity hits, if I'm last man standing or playing Rumble, 94 range, 94 stability.
I often forget about Alacrity. That's a good point.
Oh, man, that would be good. That would be really good. So that's where I'm at with it. I feel like the kill perks aren't as interesting to me here. I can see if you're just a pulse main and you want to go for Desperado or Kill Clip, I get it. I just don't think it's for me.
That's fair. You know, and I guess first things first, to step ahead of it, again, I'm on M&K. Lego is on controller, on console. And so, you know, sometimes our roles, our picks for those weapons will be different, and I'll try to distinguish as much as possible, you know, the differences based on input methods, so that folks can discern what works best for them, right? But that being said, on this pulse rifle, and I would say pulse rifles in general, it's fairly similar between the two. You want that recoil direction no matter whether you're on controller or M&K. Arrowhead break is just so fantastic for that. And then, like, I'm not going to go through my entire role per se, because, I mean, I'd probably pick the same thing as Lego. I might give up the stability for range on M&K. I'd have to feel that out, basically, just because I feel like, you know, especially with what I'm about to say and with Headseeker as well, I might be able to get away with that. I would suspect that I could get away with that along with Ricochet rounds. Headseeker is just so goated. So goated, so great. So I'd be hard pressed. You guys know me at this point. I love consistency perks. Damage perks are fantastic, but I just like the general gun feel at base. And when we talk about a weapon that has a .67 TTK at base, hitting, you know, 2 bursts, I would find it really rewarding to very consistently hit those 2 bursts, just because I feel like, you know, I did that, and I could do that with, you know, the next person without any condition, without worrying about a time limit or anything like that.
Yeah.
Headseeker is just fantastic. I think Headseeker is just, you know, one of those perks right now in its column on most weapons where it's just kind of far and away the winner, right? It's kind of how I wouldn't necessarily put Zen Moment completely up there with Headseeker, but it's kind of how, you know, Zen Moment is definitely, like, oftentimes the winner, maybe not necessarily the clear and away winner, but the winner in categories where it's at. It's like Rangefinder is a really good example of something that, you know, it's about to get changed next season, obviously, probably because of this, but the fact that it's the far and away winner, you know, 9 times out of 10 on most of the things that it comes on. So yeah, Headseeker is just beautiful. But you know, I've been a believer in Kill Clip on 340s ever since I saw, I think, True Vanguard talk about it quite a bit a while back. And True Vanguard's on controllers, so I know it's viable there, because he was talking about, I think he was talking about the Messenger. I think he was literally talking about the Resurgence. It was either the Messenger or Resurgence, one of the two. So And we've spoken about the forgiveness that it yields a little bit above. Lego was talking about that. So that's fantastic. Keep Away. I mean, I've spoken about my love for Keep Away, just as probably my favorite new perk of this DLC, right? This DLC, it first coming on, the first weapon that I loved that it came on was Round Robin, the Strand 120 hand cannon on Neptune. So yeah, those would be the perks in the end, but Headseeker probably, just for that consistent, ideally trying to get that consistent 2 burst. Man, for me, you a big Discord fan.
I know. I was like, are you really going to pick Discord?
Yeah. You know, there's a button there. You know, there's a butt coming. I think it's totally valid. You said it exactly right and alluded to it before, we said it, that how it enhances that gun feel. And, Headseeker already feels good to use, right, on pulses because of the forgiveness and the benefits that it yields. But, Discord just ends up doubling down on that weapon feel once it's active. You have a shotgun or you have a fusion, you get a kill, then you swap back via Discord and you have that Discord perk. And then on top of that, you have Headseeker to just give you that sweet, crispy 0.67 2 burst, ideally. And it's, a snappier gun. I bet it just feels incredible, honestly. I bet it just feels incredible. For me personally, I'm not as concerned with the pulse rifle with weapon swapping. And so I would personally double down myself on a rapid hit or even moving target to double down on the aim assist. But I'm not really thinking aim assist as much as I'm thinking, man, just control that 2 burst. So that even if, so it's kind of the flip side, I end up hitting a body first, Headseeker procs, gives me that 2 and 4 up to 7 resilience, like you said, right? 2 and 4, 2 body shots and then 4 headshots. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Up to 7 resilience, right? With Headseeker?
Yeah.
Got you. Say I start with the head. Well, rapid hit just helps to keep me on the head, right?
Right.
So it's just like I start with the head, rapid hit comes in and helps me to hopefully get a 2 burst. It's not as strong as it used to be because they nerfed it a little bit since its inception with, I think, Forsaken. But, start with the head, helps to keep you on the head, hopefully to get that 2 burst. You start with the body, 2 and 4 from Headseekers. So it's kind of just the best of both worlds, depending upon the situation. Kind of a different kind of, it's kind of like forgiveness with some versatility to it. A couple different use cases. So that's always been really attractive to me. And whereas I say that Keep Away is my favorite perk of Lightfall, Rapid Hit undeniably was my favorite perk that came out around the time that it came out, for sure. Like far and away for sure. And I think it was Forsaken because that was spare rations and Rapid Hit was so goated on that. So the last thing I'll mention, that's pretty much it. Moving target, perpetual motion feels good, but I wouldn't go with it over like Rapid Hit or even maybe moving target. Outlaw always feels incredible. What is it, like 0.9 maybe? I just hover. Yeah, it's 0.9
reload
multiplier.
Multiplier.
Reload duration multiplier. Thank you. And it's plus 70. It's plus 70 to the reload stat. So Outlaw feels so amazing because of both of those together. Whereas some reload perks end up benefiting you more via the reload multiplier, right? The reason why this feels like Outlaw feels so amazing is that it also gives you that bump of 70 to the stat. And so then that multiplier comes in on that stat, that bump stat, right? So certainly on like really any gun, but a pulse rifle, I think probably for me, either a pulse or a scout. I just love the way that Outlaw feels. And I'm a reload-aholic as well. I think there's a lot of compulsive reloaders out there like myself. Hence the reason why, Bungie ended up creating that perk literally called Compulsive Reloader and then also giving us the Omalon trait as well. So yeah.
It was good.
I was going to say, that's what I was going to say. I was just going to throw a little nugget in there. Man, Sacred Providence back in the day. Speaking of Rapid Hit, not going to get off on a tangent too much because we're trying to keep things nice and succinct, people, But I'm just saying, oh my God, Sacred Providence, aggressive frame, Last Wish, Pulse Rifle. Is it Last Wish? It's Garden of Salvation.
Yeah.
Pulse Rifle, back when that first came out. Oh my God, Rapid Hit hadn't been nerfed yet. I'm just sitting here with the chef's kiss, Mamma Mia hand right now. Oh my God, that Rapid Hit, 450 aggressive plus kill clip on something that had that much range on M&K where you didn't have to worry about stability as much. That thing was crazy. You two bursted everything and then you got the benefit of that reload as well. and then I was hitting people out of spawn. I took it off. That was one of those guns. I know everybody's got that gun where it's just like, oh my God, like DMT. I've got, community members where it was like DMT back when it was hot on M&K, that first like half of the season back in December of last year, where it was just like you quickly got like 2,000 kills, 3,000 kills on it, and you're just like, okay, I probably need to take this off.
Well, you know what it is. What it is rapid hit is by precision hit that it grants those stacks. And that frame, we were just talking about frames, burst. How we don't like about the high impact is this the 3 bursts, and you're talking about the 4 bursts. That's why that rapid hit felt so good.
Yep. Beautiful, because you ended up building up more rapid hit stacks. If people don't know what we're alluding to, building up more rapid hit stacks up to 5 in order to get that benefit much more quickly through that 2 burst. It was beautiful. So
well, I feel like we covered the messenger pretty well. I feel like we got it down. I'm curious. Tag us on Twitter if you felt differently, but I feel like Headseeker sounds like the guaranteed way to go. I bet there's some Desperado fans out there, though. It does feel cool. I'll give it to you.
OG. It's OG. Cool. For all those, I've got community members and friends, most definitely, who were they loved Redrix. Love Redrix.
Yeah.
And they just put tens of thousands of kills on it. When you get to that point, it's just like, I don't really care if it's not as effective. It's just, it feels like home, right? So
yeah. Okay, let's talk about this Glaive. Unexpected Resurgence. I talked about this a lot this week. I'll try to be really fast with it here, but very, in detail. So it's a 55 RPM adaptive Glaive. The difficult thing with this Glaive is that it's adaptive because we have 4 adaptive Glaives now, and so it's like, how much more can a Glaive do kind of deal? But
how much more adaptive can it really be?
Yeah, exactly. Like, we got all the adaptive we need. So it's a 55 RPM Glaive, which is actually 66.67 in game, which is very interesting. And then 130.94 a shot. So that's a lot of damage on your shot. This was nerfed. It was actually a little higher. I think it was like 136 or something like that, but it's been nerfed down since their introduction in Witch Queen. A 2-shot is a 0.9 second TTK, any Resil, of course, with that 130 shot. But stat-wise, this is the best Glaive on paper stats-wise. It is better in every category than any other adaptive Glaive. 5 more range and 5 more shield than Enigma, 16 more handling, 5 more reload speed, 2 more aim assist, and 1 more airborne effectiveness than Lubre's Ruin, those are the best in each category, and it just dominates. 16 more handling than Lubre's is wild. This thing has got the juice. So you can max range on this fairly easily, which is very important because range determines your projectile velocity on a Glaive. So you want it to max that range so you can connect those shots, because that's the number one complaint about Glaives is people have trouble connecting their shots. That, or they want to melee. And guys, I'm going to say it again, do not melee in the Crucible with a Glaive. That's like the number one way to get yourself killed.
That's the first thing I'll do.
It's terrible. And I actually got comments this week that were like, yeah, but I can't melee. Glaives are terrible. I was like, what are you doing?
It's literally a melee weapon. A Glaive is a melee. It's literally a melee weapon.
You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go, because let it go and let yourself be free to use the shield, which is the most powerful part. Because every time you melee, that shield goes down and you lose that damage reduction. That I think it's 25% now. So you want that damage reduction, and then you shoot those 130 shots, which is so much more powerful than a melee.
This is counterintuitive. I'm having to remap my brain right now.
You got to, and so does like 90% of the Destiny population. Do not melee with the Glaive, I'm telling y'all. And then on top of that, Impulse Amplifier is the last thing that this Glaive does have, which some Glaives don't, which is like the big, like if you don't have Impulse Amplifier, the Glaive is just going to feel worse because Impulse is the thing that makes it like really fly. Or maybe it's that like maybe other Glaives can get it, but it's like in the wrong column. And this Glaive has a funny story because it actually, when it came out, and I'm really glad we didn't cover it that first week, because right after we recorded our episode and Trials was out for a week and some people got the Glaive in its original state, they swapped the perks around and moved Impulse Amplifier from the 4th column to the 3rd column, and then they added Volt Shot and Swashbuckler to the last column. So it actually got switched around quite a bit before we're reviewing it here today. So I'm going to talk about it with Impulse in the 3rd column. There are a few select people that got that Glaive with Impulse in the 4th. I wish they kind of would have kept it in both. It would have been really interesting. I don't think they've ever done that before, but here we are. It's in the 3rd column. And the cool thing about that is you can damage stack in the 4th column and use Impulse to get your shot right in the 3rd, whereas like Judgment of Kelgrath is the only other Glaive that can max its range the way this one can, but it has to sacrifice damage stacking to get Impulse Amplifier because Impulse is stuck in that 4th column on that Glaive. So that's what makes this one so good. Max range, Impulse Amplifier, and you can damage stack all together, and that's why it's so goated. Okay, all right. So let's talk about those damage stacks that you can perk. We talked about Impulse. Just specifically, Impulse gives you 35% increased projectile velocity to a weapon, so that's what really makes it good. It also gives you 20 extra reload speed, which people forget about. And reloading a Glaive sucks. So on Glaives, you also get a 0.85 times reload duration multiplier. Both of those things are very good. We just were talking about Outlaw, which is only a 0.9 times reload duration multiplier. This is 0.85 just automatically. You don't have to do anything. You just have it. So that's really good.
Okay.
And then on top of that, we've got Shot Swap. I'm kind of switching to just go over the basic 3rd column perks first.
Of course. I'm looking. Yep.
Shot Swap is we talked about on Judgment of Kelgrath a few episodes ago. Great for hot swapping. You melt them down. You get the kill with the Glaive. You can quickly blint after that anytime you need to. Which is fantastic. And then replenishing Aegis is really weird. Some people love it. I have mixed feelings about it. It reloads your weapon while you're blocking, which is helpful, but it's kind of, in PvE it felt really slow. In PvP I could see it paying off here, but are you going to give that up for Impulse Amplifier, the thing that makes the Glaive consistent? That would be tough for me to do. I would rather have the increased reload and the faster projectile. So that feels like the no-brainer for the Crucible to me, is like automatic. You need Impulse Amplifier in that 3rd column. Damage perks. Unstoppable Force is here, which is kind of the given because it's 20% extra damage for just blocking and taking a shot, and that's very easy to do with a Glaive. The problem is that it's never going to get you the one shot, so your time to kill stays the same no matter what. But if you're team shotting with opponents, that 20% extra damage on top of a 130 shot is very useful still. It's not nothing, that brings you to 157 a shot. That's a lot of damage. So it ends up being my recommended roll to people a lot because it's so easy, but you're never going to one shot with it. It's not like the cool trick weapon or anything like that. Close to melee is a damage perk for your melee, which you won't be using in PvP, so stop trying to melee in PvP. I have it in all caps here.
just pull a stompies and just unbind the melee people. That hurt even for me to say. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still salty.
The other two damage perks here, Frenzy kind of does the same thing as Unstoppable Force, just harder to get going. Then we got Swashbuckler, which is the new one added here. Swashbuckler times 5 with Radiant, so you just melee with the Glaive, as we talked about. Or, as I was doing it before Swashbuckler worked with Glaive, I would throw a hunter throwing knife with my primary, and then swap to the Glaive, and when you get the kill, it procs Swashbuckler times 5 and Radiant at the same time. And that lets you one-shot up to 6 Resil.
That's dishonest. So, that's unintended.
It's very trick shotty. No. Okay, Tony, of all the trick shots I would ever do, this is the one that's like you would see it and be like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like that, you have to admit.
That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty cool.
Throwing a knife, swapping to the Glaive just in time for Swashbuckler times 5 to proc,
and then to keep that gameplay loop going. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
And it's better than it was before because now you have surge mods you can get from becoming getting your armor charge up that stacks with Radiant, that stacks with Swashbuckler to let you one-shot any results.
Oh, that's kind of crazy. Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't use this much because I've done this on Lubre's Ruin forever, and it's fun, but you can do it even with a better Glaive here, basically. So that's an option if you're looking for one-shots or cool tricks. My favorite way to run this, though, because I got this roll and I played around with it a lot, is Surrounded. Surrounded gives you a 40% damage buff when you're within 1.5, whenever you're in 8 meters of 3 enemies. It only lasts for 1.5 seconds after you're not within those 3 enemies, so it's very short if you're not very close to your opponent. And by itself, that's not going to let you one-shot either if that 40% isn't enough. But and you can use Radiant with that to one-shot anything, which that's cool. But to me, this is where it gets weird. If you're going into the middle of 3 people, you don't want to spend the time like dodging to get Radiant to get the one-shot. Like, it's just too many things to juggle. So I started using Bacchus to teleport into the 3 people, and then I get 6% buff now on arc weapons from Bacchus, which this Glaive is arc.
This right here, if y'all didn't know, these are Titan tendencies. Like right here, these are Titan tendencies.
Yes.
And you used to be a Titan. If y'all didn't know, you used to be a Titan. These are Titan tendencies. That just the concept, you know. Like I'm a little coward hunter, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be up in that. Like, that doesn't even make sense. That didn't even process for me.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Okay. So you may be thinking, 6% buff on Surrounded, so this lets you one-shot up to 7 or Zil. You may be thinking to yourself, Lego, when is this ever going to happen? 8 meters of 3 people? I'm not even kidding when I tell you I did this my very first Crucible game. I got multiple one-shots doing this. My very first game. And then they're like, okay, well, that's just quick play. That'll never happen in Trials. I kid you not. My very first Trials game, I procced the shot twice. I Backrest in. I hit one guy. He was higher than 7 or Zil, though, so I left him with like a sliver, and I turned to his teammate, one shot. And then my teammate, finished off the guy who was nothing. So it was like, it's an amazing perk. I know that it's not the smartest play. It's probably going to get you killed most of the time, but it sounds so like much fun.
Honestly,
it's so much fun.
Sounds like fun. And yeah, it's also one of those things where folks probably do not expect people to pull that type of craziness. Like, that's
the best is that in Trials, so many people are running at me with their Arc Titans, with the Overshields and Antaeus, and so I teleport behind them and then one-shot them, and they're like, what just happened? You know, maybe not the Titans because, you know, Resil check, but I kill their Warlock friend. So yeah, it's a fun setup. I'll go ahead and give my whole build here. On the Glaive, you want to run all range masterwork. Super cool accelerator is my favorite thing in the first column here, because ballistic tuning technically gives you more range, but it takes away from your shield, and we'll be able to max the range out without that. We can do it with just super cold accelerator, and then use accurized rounds, impulse amplifier, and then Surrounded with an adept range mod if you can get it. That gives you 100 range, impulse amplifier, and I love Surrounded. If you're not crazy like me, just run Unstoppable Force. You know, but if you're crazy like me, try it out. And what's great about this is the adept range. I don't need it if I'm playing Rumble, because the alacrity will give me plus 10 range, so I can swap to freehand grip instead, because I'm always hip firing the Glaive, so I can run it either way, which is really cool. I can't do that on many other weapons.
Yeah, and we were talking pre-show. I don't have much because, you know, you're the Glaive expert, so I always kind of just like defer to your expertise. We were talking about just kind of the niche concept of throwing Volt Shot on there and stacking it with, you know, a bunch of stuff that, you know, a bunch of Arc-y stuff, Arc 3.0 stuff, basically, to continue to kind of like double down on the Arc explosions and that sort of thing. Do you mind giving us some insight into that?
Yeah, it's kind of theoretical because I haven't tried it yet, but you can stack. So Volt Shot will do, it's like 51 damage, I want to say, to your opponent once you do a certain amount of damage to them. But the trick here is to not use Volt Shot by itself, because that's not going to let you one-shot anyone, but you stack it with the number 1, your arc fragment that gives you blinding on special weapon kills while you're amplified, It'll blind with special weapons, arc special weapons specifically. And then on top of that, there's a artifact mod this season that does an actual explosion too. And I'm not sure if that stacks with Volt Shot or not, but if it does, then that's 3 explosions right there. And then you can stack it one step further. If you get the new exotic hunter gloves, they're just built for the glaive, and a part of it has to do with being surrounded, but the other part has to do with if your glaive element, which is his arc, if you're running arc 2, which you would be for all the other stacking explosions, it gives the glaive an explosion when you get an elimination as well. So that's 4 explosions: Volt Shot, the artifact explosion, the blinding explosion from your fragment, and then the explosion from the exotic hunter gloves. And I think that would probably one-shot somewhat. I'm not sure, because I heard that the testing that I saw on the explosion from the hunter arms was 101 damage. So if that stacks with Volt Shot, stacks with the artifact explosion, that could one-shot a player next to somebody else, and you basically have a mini exotic glaive on your hands.
Interesting. Yo, and keep in mind, I'll add to that, because I'm just listening intently. I love synergy. I love synergy between the gunplay and the subclass, like verbs. I love, and that's one thing that's come out of the 3POs. Oh my goodness, 3.0s in spades that I really enjoy seeing, and it being unique to that particular element, right? Arc will give you synergy, but it'll do certain arc dictated effects like blinding and things of that sort. So Void 3.0, we're talking about volatile and that sort of thing, or weakening. So it's just really cool to see gunplay come into the mix with those verbs as well. So just a reminder that those are offensive capabilities, right? Of stacking offensive capabilities, but there's also defensive capabilities that synergize with that close quarters environment as well. Stuff like Spark of Instinct, Fragment on Arc, that creates like a dome with a radius around you. Whenever you reach a certain hit point, it could be critical. I can't remember what the hit point value is that you have to reach, but once you take enough damage, you end up releasing this radius of AoE effect that jolts enemies within that. And so if you're in glaive range, oftentimes your enemy will be within the radius of that dome. So even if you don't have the shield up and you actually do take damage, well, Spark of Instinct will kick in and give you a little bit more of, some more juice basically. But, in reality, it'll give you jolt on the enemy.
Right.
Just for taking that damage. Then you've got an artifact mod. I can't remember what it's called, but whenever you're amplified, you get damage resistance. You've also got Spark of Feedback, which is just on the Arc subclass in particular, which also gives you some damage resistance when surrounded by enemies. And if you want to end up pairing that with literally surrounded, then you can just bolster your chances of coming out on top in that engagement. Just one, artifact or mod stacking at a time, basically. Give yourself that additional chance, even if it's a little bit small, to come out on top and to have fun with that build. So
no, that's good.
Love it.
There's a lot of synergy there too, because I actually ran skip nades with my time with the glaive, and one of the things I was doing was throwing the skip nades with the fragment that makes your grenades jolt your targets. Like it would chase them. They can't get away from them. Like skip nades are gonna hit you. They hit them, and sometimes multiple shots, and then I would basically one shot with the glaive. So my thinking is you put all this together, everything you just said, everything I just said, with some skip nades that jolt originally, then you get that shot and kill that first jolted target from your grenade. You're amplified then. Then you've got all of the explosions we just talked about ready to go. You got Volt Shot ready to go because you just got the kill with the glaive. You reload. You've got all the amplified explosions ready to go. You got that damage resistance you were talking about. I think it could come together there, because I played around with the skip nades and it was working good just with the glaive at base. So stacking all this on top of it, I think there could be some crazy stuff here that I haven't even dove into yet.
Yo, I completely agree. And that's the type of really, like, I don't consider that out of band. You know, that's like that's the type of damage stacking. That's the type of stacking, synergistic stacking that, you know, I've come to love about the build crafting in Destiny PvP.
Right.
Is it's not just like you are investing your whole build into that playstyle in order to increase like each step of the way, each stack, every time, you know, like you're just increasing your chance of coming out on top, making that build more and more effective. But in doing so, you are committing more and more to that playstyle, so that if I take an L to that playstyle, I'm just like, man, a lot went into that. You know, you could probably make like a 5-10 minute build video just on that, explaining each piece. And I find that really rewarding, honestly, to both see from other players and to also experience myself.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to using this thing some more. I'm actually a little hyped to play with it. I've been playing around with the Hunter exotic Glaive a lot, which has an explosion-like wave that comes out and stacking it with stuff. And once I got this Glaive, I started kind of doing the same thing. I was like, man, it's just as good. So, not just as good, but it's really good. Yeah. So I'm excited to use it more, because that Hunter exotic Glaive, you have to give up your shield. You basically eat your shield energy to do the big shot. Whereas this Glaive, you just get Volt Shot and you can just use it. So I'm pumped for PvE and PvP to use this some more. But let's move on to this sniper rifle.
Mercurial Overreach.
Yeah. Dude, I'm pumped to hear about it. I'm pumped to look into it some more. Do you want me to just lead with it, or do you want to take this one?
Oh, no, you lead with it. I'm loving this.
Let's go. Okay, the Mercurial Overreach. This has got to be like a play on Merc, right?
I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah, it has to be, right? Like, did he try to put too much on this and they named it Mercurial Overreach? And they're like, hey, bro, come on.
Or maybe it was a Mercury's Overreach.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
You know, and he just happened to have like the spreadsheet, and he went into the system and hacked it overnight, and you know, like it just stuck, and now it's a meme within Bungie. I'm just gonna create that story. Honestly, that's a fan fiction right there. I like
it.
You know what I'm saying? So Chris Proctor came into Merc's office, and he's just like, dude, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You act like I didn't see this, Merc. You act like I didn't notice this morning when I came into the office. Got my coffee, got my bagel. You know what I'm saying? Got my McGriddle. You act like I didn't see this, and Merc he didn't even say anything. In fact, he probably just left a sticky note right there. And so then they didn't have time. It came out. It was a Tuesday, and it literally came out that day. It was named something redacted, completely different from what it is right now. And Merc just created a joke where he was just like he named it himself, Mercurial Overreach, and it just stuck, and now it's a meme.
We'll have to ask him if we get him on the show sometime soon. Okay. Mercurial Overreach is an adaptive frame sniper. I feel like I could take that story and keep going with it, but I'm not. I'm restraining myself right now. Adaptive frame sniper, 90 RPM. I didn't write down any TTKs because, let's be real, you're just getting headshots with this thing if you're using it. The stats wise, it is just like the Glaive, super jacked. Just like every weapon we have reviewed tonight, they are all stat monsters. This one is no different. Highest range, stability, and handling stats of any adaptive frame sniper rifle, with the lowest zoom scope at 40, just like Beloved or Defiance of Yasmin. For reference on the stats, the range is at 65. Eye of Soul is only 50, and some of them are in the 40s. This is 65. The stability and handling, stability and handling is 54 and 52, while the rest are at 40. Like, none of them are in the 50s. So it's like truly juice. The only stat that is low, and it's not even that low, is 63, but while others reach 68, but that's still not that bad. There are others in like 58, stuff like that. So all around, juice sniper rifle.
Yeah, it seems to follow that trend with what's the Void Energy Hand Cannon?
Yes, Exalted Truth.
Exalted Truth, yeah. Juice stats, slightly lower aim assist, basically, to compensate for the juice stats and also the stat package. But other than that aim assist, you just end up having some crazy perks and perk combinations, and just absolutely, just like you said, again, like juice stats. So I think it's something that is very worthy of receiving from the premier, competitive PvP mode.
Yeah, the only thing I wish it would have been a lightweight still. I wish they could have somehow made an aggressive lightweight or adaptive lightweight sniper rifle. Would have loved it, but they can't all be lightweights. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, and let's just remember, in actuality, it's a war on hunters right now. But continue.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no damage perks on this thing. It's all, I mean, you've got Vorpal, but that didn't really count. It's all about the trick shots to me, or just making a really solid sniper rifle. Because you've got all the OG snapshot, firmly planted, surplus in that first column, and then opening shot, elemental capacitor, moving target, like everything you need to make this thing juicy. And you've got trick shot stuff too. We've got elemental capacitor that can be used for that. We've got Mulligan and Discord, the new perk in the third column. The only thing missing here, I feel like, is Hipfire Grip. Like, if that was in the third column too, that would just be chef's kiss. Like, any kind of way you want to trick shot this thing, it would be available to you. But we got some pretty good options, because remember, Discord regenerates ammo. It's better than Snapshot on special weapons. We talked about it on the Messenger, where it was like half of Snapshot. Here, it's better than Snapshot on a special weapon once it's active. It's a 0.75 times handling versus Snapshot's only 0.8 on special weapons. So that's 0.75 times handling animation multiplier. And then it's also got that smaller accuracy cone and the plus 30 airborne effectiveness, which leans into the trick shot kind of way about it. And then, yeah, I just think that elemental capacitor being in the fourth column is a good nod to the weapon to be able to run it with arc and get that crazy juiced plus 50 handling. Or you could run it with strand and get that plus 20 airborne effectiveness.
Yep.
And there's just so many different ways to stack and roll this thing. I want to go ahead and start off with my favorite build for this, though, because it's so stupid. And I'm going to say both of them. They're both stupid, and I love them both, because I know someone's going to say, Tony's probably going to have a much better standard roll for everybody here.
Why you? Whoa, bro! I took offense by that. You just said I'm basic.
I'm not saying you're basic. I'm saying you're going to do the right thing for people, and I'm going to do the crazy thing for when it comes to a weapon like this. If it was a primary,
I think people prefer the crazy. I'm just saying,
I don't know. I'm pretty sure one of our reviews was like 4 stars, 1 star because I'm taken away because that Lego guy stacks too much. But okay. Anyway, here we go. Okay, so here's my trick shot roll, and I got the perk combo already, so it's crazy. But range masterwork, full bore, armor piercing rounds, and armor piercing rounds is only there basically because I want to shoot through people. It's a trick shot rifle, so we'll see.
Hey, I feel it.
And then Discord, an elemental capacitor on strand with an Icarus grip and short action stock. This weapon does have stocks, and short action stock is like your guaranteed plus 15 handling, so you got to. But, so here's what this thing does. Discord is giving me plus 30 airborne effectiveness. Elemental capacitor on strands give me plus 20. Threat of Ascent, when I grapple, gives me plus 30 airborne effectiveness. My Icarus grip is giving me plus 15. I'm at a total of 100 AE without, all I did was get a kill on another weapon and grapple, and that was it. No, I don't even have an exotic. You don't have to run some exotic to boost your airborne effectiveness. You just got 100 airborne effectiveness, and I've got 100 handling thanks to Threat of Ascent. I know I went range masterwork and full bore and all that, but that's just because Threat of Ascent is going to jack up my handling, so I don't even have to worry about it. And then I got 95 range. It's like everything you could want on a trick shot sniper rifle.
I can't refute that. Everything you said was valid.
The only thing that can make this better, and they won't do it, is if this was an aggressive frame and I got Harmony on it to pair with Discord, because that would blow this. Yeah, I would get some hate mail with that.
We said we weren't going to talk about that. I thought we literally said we weren't. I'm going to just let y'all's imagination go with that.
Let's move on to this other one, because that's crazy. But there's another role that might be even crazier and also built more for me than any sniper rifle I can imagine, and that is the unlimited ammo machine. Handling masterwork, fluted barrel. I'm going more handling on this one because I'm not going to run strand. Armor piercing rounds, Discord, and Mulligan with a targeting mod and short action stock. So this is it's like if you take a shot and hit it, you get your ammo back. If you take a shot and miss it, you got a 20% chance of getting your ammo back anyway. So it's a win-win any way you do it. And this would absolutely get banned in physics labs. I know it.
Well, only because of Discord. Though.
Yeah,
you
Mulligan's not that great, but it would just be fun to have because it would motivate you to take the shot. Just take the shot, which is something that I liked about Revoker, despite its problems. But it would get people just shooting more and just like not holding on to ammo and stuff. So
yeah, and
I think that's
fun. A fair like perspective on it. And you said it exactly right. You know, the other side of it was definitely problematic. Broke the special ammo economy.
Yeah.
But I mean, in this day and age where you've heard me say it so many times, man, I just want to get into a fight. Like, please just slide at me. Like, I just want to slide at you. Please just slide at me. I gotta say this every time because, you know, the Twitter personalities, man, I'm not asking you to throw your life away. I'm just saying, man, let's get into this fight, man. And cause I got dinner, you know, in a half an hour. I literally have to cook. It's my turn to cook tonight. You know, I can't be sitting around. I'm gonna let it go. Anyway, you know what I'm gonna say. I'll be here all day. Cool.
Oh,
man. I think what I liked about what you said so far, you know, kind of just the overarching theme behind this sniper rifle is it's like the trick. It's a good balance, or it does both. It's the trick shot king of sniper rifles right now, king, queen. But also it is just a sniper rifle, main sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Both with regards to the perk package, the stat package, but arguably more importantly, just the perks, how they're arranged in the columns, the combinations, the fact that we got this stock that gives plus 15 handling, which is, you know, so important on special weapons, and so important on snipers in particular with regards to the feel, right? I talk about sniper rifles to me, are the weapon. I'm sure that there can be arguments for other special weapons that may be more, but to me, I think that sniper rifles arguably are the weapon where there is a unique role to you, where you enjoy that weapon feel. You know, it's the reason why I'm very cautious in our community scrims to ban too many things on sniper rifle weapons themselves, because people have that one role that they swear by, that's their role. You know, that's their role. And a lot of, it could just be a variety of, it could be firmly planted slapshot. It could be, you know, no distractions. It could be opening shot. It could be just pure, you know, handling like myself, a snapshot and a elemental capacitor. But then that elemental capacitor, just like you said, can build into so many different things. It could build into void flinch resistance. It could build into AE on strand, right? And then you could be going for 100 AE roll. You know, we could build into like perfect float with elemental capacitor on strand, right? And just do even more AE. It can end up, I've heard multiple people swear behind slick draw. They're not swearing behind it in the sense that they would take it over like literally anything, but you know, I've heard several people say, "Hey, you know, slick draw is not as bad as folks say it is. It gives that handling, and that dip in aim assist is not too bad. It's not too bad. It's something I can
I've
deal
heard
with
that a lot
so,
too.
Yeah. And so especially when sometimes handling is, you know, at a premium, right? But handling is definitely not at a premium on this one, especially with plus 15 from the stock at the end, short action stock, which I just couldn't imagine going for anything else. Plus 15 on the handling, short action stock, you know, and the rest of them are kind of just mid in comparison to that, mid to just bad. So, you know, this isn't, I can't really, I can be basic on this. I know, you know, we're just joking on that. I can be basic on this for sure. But I think what you said is, you know, is totally right. Kind of just like build this the way that you want. It's all pretty much viable except for, Vorpal, I guess is viable. It's less viable, I feel like, than most everything else in this last column. Pretty much everything in that third column is viable, and it's kind of just like a Build-A-Bear. Just do it the way that you want, right? For me, some combination of getting 90 to 100 handling. Right now, I have it outfitted for, what is it, like fluted, the classic combination of like fluted, flared magwell, snapshot, and opening shot with short action stock and a handling masterwork. So that ends up giving me, was that 90 range? Still 90 range with opening shot active specifically. And also gives me 92 handling. Those are the two most important stats that I'm looking at right there. And just keep in mind that opening shot also on everything but shotguns ends up giving you plus 20 aim assist, right? Plus 20 aim assist. So that takes the aim assist value up to from 63 to 83. Right. And then, of course, you could continue to build in that if you want to give up a little bit of, you could continue to build in that with the target adjuster mod and also with some targeting mods up top to get it pretty close to 100 AE. I'm pretty sure that there's a way to get this up to 100 AE. I'm not going to swear by it right now, but I've at least kind of heard that. But you can get close either way, just by doing some simple math of the targeting mods up top and a target adjuster giving you plus 15. So that actually does come to 98. So anyway, yeah. So that's one way that I would outfit it, as kind of like a consistency main and a handling nerd. But also surplus, I love, especially since Snapshot ended up getting nerfed on special weapons. I love surplus on long range weapons because I've said it before, surplus on shotguns, I'd prefer like threat detector, which caters more to close quarters encounters. Surplus in close quarters, I'm trying to do anything to survive, so I can't have my shotgun feeling good and worse in kind of a snapshot type of situation, for lack of better words, not to refer to the perk itself. Just by trying to throw a grenade in order to do some chip damage so that my shotgun can hopefully get out in time to do some additional chip damage from a little farther away than the one hit kill effective range, right? But surplus on long range weapons where there isn't as much of an impetus, and you can hold your abilities, or you're not required to use them in order to come out on top or for survivability. You more often can have them up, and surplus, especially when we go up to surplus times 2, surplus times 3 is just goated. And then I've talked about my love for surplus on Strand Warlock, where you've got three melees, right? You get one at the beginning of the game, but it charges up to 3, and then you can just unbind the charged melee, right? The charged melee is not that great anyway, and you just all the time have surplus times 3 for the rest of the game, right? And surplus times 3, we're talking about, what is that again? That is surplus times 3 50. Is 50 handling. That's 50 handling, but that's also 25 stability and 50 reload speed. So not only do you get the 50 handling, which you're sure pretty much with not much else, if not nothing else, you're going to end up getting that 100 handling. And you're going to get 25 stability, right, for some flinch resistance, which is pretty important these days as well for a sniper main. So those are the two in that column personally for me, the snapshot and the surplus, where I'm just like, okay, I see that, I'm with it. And then in the last column for me again is just opening shot is just so juiced on snipers. I can't overstate that. I don't know if they should just keep. I don't know if they should keep putting opening shot on snipers, the most prolific. Long range, high risk, low reward weapon in the game that pretty much runs all of our competitive playlists, right? So opening shot and elemental capacitor, of course.
Yeah, I think you convinced me to actually switch Discord and opening shot instead of Mulligan. Mulligan's funny, but I would actually use a Discord opening shot sniper.
Opening shot is juiced on snipers. I can't. Yeah. We literally. I told you before that I didn't want to ban sniper perks because everybody has that sniper, and sniper feel is so important, and I don't want people to have to pick up a sniper rifle that they're not used to and try to get good with it in our environment, but then they switch to pubs and they switch back to the other. It's too jarring on a sniper rifle in my opinion. But opening shot is so juiced on snipers that's the only perk that we banned, and we literally banned it today after listening to a bunch of community feedback. So, and I don't ban things, or I don't make that final decision lightly. So, opening shot, far and away in my opinion.
Very good. Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, let's move on to the last weapon of the night. We've got loaded question, a high impact fusion rifle returning with perks this time, actual perks to choose from. High impacts are the 960 charge time, almost a full second. If you put liquid coils on it, it is a full second. So very long charge time, fires 5 bolts, requires 3 of them to hit up to 8 Resil and 4 for 9 and 10 Resil. So stats wise, it's at the end of the high range with 52, not quite as good as Glacio's 63 range, and also Glacio has 16 zoom. That's the fusion that I'm going to be thinking of a lot for PvP as I compare it. I'm sure for PvE, there's it's going to have its own thing going for it because it has this new perk, Controlled Burst, which is an option for this fusion. But the problem with Controlled Burst in PvP is it only lasts for 2 seconds. You're taking a full second to charge this thing. Like 1 second window to use a perk is so small. Yeah, I just don't know that you're going to be using it that much. So I'm probably going to skip that one. The ones that I would focus on here are Under Pressure is the goated fusion rifle PvP perk.
Seriously.
Yeah, if you got to roll with Firmly Planted, you might want to just go again and try to get Under Pressure, because Firmly Planted's nerfed. Under Pressure isn't, and that's just the way it is.
Yep.
Yeah, no question. I've heard some people really like Demolitionist. If you're into that, that's there. But Under Pressure is the perk here for PvP. And then for the 4th column, it's Eye of the Storm. That's just it. Like, Harmony's here, but you're not really going to be using that to do anything different unless you're stacking just a ton of other stuff, which you're probably not. So in that case, Eye of the Storm, which creates a really cool accuracy combo that Glacioclasm also had. So Under Pressure is giving you up to 50% decreased accuracy cone size and a crazy accuracy cone growth. And then Eye of the Storm grants you up to negative or minus 40% accuracy cone size too. So it's just super accurate shot if you get shot at while you're charging this thing, which you probably will because you're charging it for 1 second. So it's a great combo. The problem with it is Glacioclasm had this combo too, and it had more range and 16 zoom. So in that regard, you're looking at this thing like, what does it have to offer for PvP? And there's one other thing I want to bring to your attention, and that is that this is Adept. And there is only one other Adept high impact, and that is Mida's Reckoning from the King's Fall raid. And that can be harder to get than a Grandmaster Adept, depending on like when it's available and all that stuff, whether you raid or not. 3 people is just sometimes easier to get. So you get this one, you get this crazy. Also, Midas doesn't have Under Pressure. I don't think it might. No, it might. It just doesn't have Eye of the Storm in the 4th column. So this is like the super accuracy version of that. And you have Adept charge time that you can put on, which Adept charge time is the only charge time thing you can do that doesn't decrease your impact damage. You put that on, you just shoot faster. And it's just the same speed increase that a charge time masterwork or accelerated coils would be. And so my suggestion here, and
just an FYI, that Midas Reckoning does not have Under Pressure, nor does it have Eye of the Storm on it.
Oh, it doesn't have Under Pressure either? I thought it did for some reason. Oh, you're right. Okay. So yeah, this is definitely, like, I love Midas, and I put it in an S tier category if I'm ranking all of them because it has backup plan available on it. And that's just really, really good on a high impact. So, like, if you go get that and get a backup plan one on it, I think that one would be better in my opinion. But if you just want a solid, hard-hitting, super accurate fusion rifle that you can put an Adept charge time mod on, Loaded Question could be that gun for you. So my recommendation here is actually you could go all speed and like go with the charge time masterwork and ruin the 3-bolt, just have it 4-bolt everything and accelerated coils and add all those charge time things together to charge in 860 milliseconds. That's an option. But I think what I'm going to be going for is Under Pressure and Eye of the Storm with liquid coils. So that fixes my 3-bolt to kill 9 and 10 Resil too. And I'm going to go with the Adept charge time mod on it to fix liquid coils. I would never recommend you run charge time masterwork and then liquid coils. I see a lot of people try to do that, but that just like cancels each other out, and
I remember you said that.
Yeah, you lose perks you could put range on and stuff. So instead, range masterwork, and you only use the adept charge time mod because that doesn't hurt your impact. So you're now 3 bolting up to 10 resil. You're shooting just as fast as you were before. The difference is you're hitting harder, and now you can add like extended barrel to control the recoil direction a bit more and give you some more range. So now you've got your damage fall off doesn't start happening until around 18 meters, and you're 3 bolting up to 10 resil. That's pretty good. And you're super accurate too. So that would be my role.
Yeah, and I'm going to completely defer to you, just like with the Glaive as well. I mean, everybody knows Lego for fusions in particular, expert upon many things, but the fusions, like I'm gonna contest that, you know. A couple notes. I'll go ahead and notes for folks that aren't fusion mains, like myself. Is and Lego's alluded to a few of these things, or just straight up said it, but it's just a good reminder. One is, and I want to make sure, I'll repeat this because I want to make sure that I'm understanding this as well, that you never want to go with liquid coils with a charge time masterwork because they cancel each other out.
Right.
Yeah. But adept charge time does not cancel out liquid coils. So if you're trying to pull the charge time down in order to cancel out the charge time increase that you get from liquid coils, then an adept charge time mod would be the way to go about it. But you wouldn't want to do a charge time masterwork because that doesn't do the same thing. So that's one. Two is Lego has said many times that he is a range, not stability, but a range nerd on fusion rifles, and I just trust him because he's that guy. So something to kind of like keep in mind, the prevailing thought behind fusion rifles, especially amongst us, folks that aren't fusion rifle mains. Somebody will say, somebody comes into the chat and I'll ask about fusion, and the average person is going to say, yeah, make sure you get some stability on that.
Right.
But Lego is saying that to connect those bolts, range is more important. And then, you just learn that pattern to the point where you can control that recoil. But you'll connect more bolts with the range and learning the recoil versus just leaving it up in the air, with a less range, but less need for it. Basically, control what you can. You can control the recoil. Yes. You can't control more range and connecting those bolts. You actually need range for that on the stat bar. So just want to make sure I understand that. And the third thing is just to keep in mind, everybody, that whereas zoom matters, such as on archetypes such as SMGs, right, can make a big difference. That's why Shayura's is still very goated, is because it has a best in class. I think one of the best in class, at least 4, 6. One of the best in class. I think Antiope might be up there or something like that. But either way, one of the higher zoom values, and so it reaches out and touches at much farther ranges than your average SMG because of that zoom value. But on fusion rifles, way back when, they ended up compressing the zoom stat to the point where zoom is not, it's not as important, differences in zoom. So when he says that, this one has 15 zoom versus Glacial Chasm having 16, I took that kind of with a grain of salt based on what you told me about zoom values being compressed on fusion rifles in particular, so that zoom doesn't matter quite as much in distinguishing between, subfamilies, or maybe between different fusion rifles with different zoom values, as much as it might be a pretty big distinguishing factor on SMGs if there was even just one difference in zoom values. So 3 takeaways for folks trying to kind of discern, what to run and what to run perk-wise as well.
And to put that into perspective too, like it is a little bit further, and Glacio has better base range. So if you put a max range Glacio, that's 98 range, insane, with 16 zoom, compared to Loaded Questions max range 87, that's like full bore projection, range masterwork, everything. It comes out to Loaded Questions at 18.5 meters before damage drop off, and Glacio's at 19.3. So it's really, we're talking like a little over a half meter And it's tough because Glacio can get high impact reserves in that last column, which makes it to where you don't need liquid coils to fix anything. It'll just gonna 3-bolt everything. So Glacio, it's tough competition, but it only comes around once a year. A lot of people don't have it, and if you're looking for something to compete, this might be the thing. So it could. I do think it's more of a PvE oriented rifle, but I could see somebody busting this out with the adept charge time and doing some work with it. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I kind of like, the last thing that I'll say about it is I kind of like the fact that it's mainly a PvE one, but if you come around to love it, like we love certain weapons, right? Then there is a particular role that if you get can be quite good in PvP as well. So, very cool. Very cool. I like that basically.
Nice. Well, that brings us to a close of another show. I had a lot of fun going over these weapons and talking Crucible a bit with you, Tony, today. It was good.
Man, I love being here, bro. For real. I love being here. So I appreciate the time, for real.
Yeah, well, y'all, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Destiny Massive Breakdowns, and be sure to reach out on social media and Discord for feedback and questions, as we said earlier, or just to let us know how you enjoyed the episode. We really love hearing your feedback on I used this role and it was awesome. It took me to Lighthouse. That stuff is great to hear.
Definitely. Please hit us up on the social. We love having these discussions, especially on Twitter in particular. But of course, the Destiny Massive Breakdowns community Discord is just goated, so please just tag me in there. But remember, you can connect to all three Destiny Massive Breakdowns at destinymassivebreakdowns.com, including Podcast versus Enemies, hosted by our very own Court, Impetus, and St. Caper, and also the podcast Beneath Twin Suns, a Star Wars podcast hosted by Kit and Mercules. You'll find our social links and invite to join the conversation in Discord, episodes new and old, and the occasional guidepost, and also more well-written resources right there. This, per the usual, is Illphysics, aka Tony. If you did not previously know me, you can find me at Illphysics on most platforms, but the main ones that I will be frequenting are Twitch, Twitter, and of course the Discord, where we are over 3,000 people in there, and just enjoying ourselves with our community scrims, of course.
And this has been Lego, aka Legole Flash, and you can find me on Twitter or YouTube, just YouTube basically. Thank you all so much for joining us on this one, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.
GG.